Hello everybody, welcome into our latest live broadcast. Today it is the 23rd of July 2025. It's Wednesday. I'm your host CareyHolzman, and today we have a look at a mini gaming PC. And it's not often I will use the term gaming PC. However, in this case, it actually is a gaming PC, and not exactly the best gaming PC, but if you're if you have a budget under $700, probably the best gaming PC, mini PC especially, that you can buy under that price point. We've seen this company before. This is Aoostar or Aoostar. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce their name. And the model that we're looking at today is I'll bring it up here on the screen. I'm going to try. There it is. The GODZ or GODZ. They have a GODX, which is what the trailer was for. I could not find a trailer for the GODZ, but it's basically the exact same case and internals with a different CPU. So here it's a Ryzen 7 7435HS Plus. There is no integrated graphics on that chip. All right. Very, very slowly, let me say this again. There is no integrated graphics on a Ryzen 7 7435HS. So what does that mean? Well, it means to get video out, you need a discrete graphics card, which they do on laptops all the time. It's a mobile chipset that's soldered right onto or a modern mobile GPU that's soldered right onto the board. It's a Radeon RX 6600LE. Now, they sell this in multiple configurations with 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte SSD, 16 gigs of RAM with a 512 gig SSD. And you'll see the pricing here at $549 is no RAM and no NVMe drive. There is room for 2 NVMe drives in there, but they don't seem to have any heat sinks, which is a little concerning. So I've decided to go ahead and do the bare bones one. That way we'll have some fun putting this together. We'll use a 1 terabyte Western Digital black NVMe drive with a heatsink already from the factory on the NVMe drive. As far as the RAM goes, it's DDR5, but there's no point in getting anything any faster than 4800 megahertz or mega transfers. It's when people on the internet, and just to be clear with you guys, this just drives me crazy. People just keep spending more money for nonsense that they have this illusion is making anything better. If you were running integrated graphics off of that CPU, then yes, when gaming, that could improve your frame rates. But we're not running integrated graphics. That option does not exist, and any speed improvement on the RAM will have no effect or very little effect, and you'd be wasting your money. Furthermore, the board won't even go any faster than 4800. So if you want to spend extra for 5200 or 6000, it'll still run at 4800 and it'll just cost you a little bit more money. So for that reason, I've got some RAM here. This is 32 gigs, 4800 speed. Why spend more than you need to? And our Western Digital black with the factory heatsink on it. I don't know why there's no heatsink included here, but it does look like there's plenty of room for a heatsink. We'll find out when we put this together. All right, so welcome in everybody, and let me say hello and also a thank you. We had a couple contributions come in prior to the show today, and it looks like we've got, hold on, let me get my glasses. Oh man, you think I'd never done this before? I should have had my glasses on the counter. Our friend Jack Kugelmass out of Toronto, Canada, sent us $5 Canadian as an Amazon gift card. Thank you for that, Jack. Also, our friend Buster, of course, with his regular contribution here. He says, hello, Carey and Marlena. This is my thanks for tonight's show. Your friend, Buster. Thank you, Buster, as always. It looks like I just got a response from Thermaltake regarding the screen. Oh. No. So I have 2 separate tickets open with Thermaltake regarding the build we did Friday, and we'll continue this Friday. Regarding the wrong cable being sent, an incompatible cable. And so I reached out to technical support, and technical support said to reach out to the RMA department. So I just closed the ticket with tech support and opened a ticket with the RMA. And now I got a survey. How was our tech support? Rate us. So I was hoping that was a response from the RMA department. Now it's been 24 hours and I've not heard from the RMA department. I'm not real happy about that, but you know, it is what it is, and I'll let it go a few more days. I'll let it go till Monday. If I don't hear anything by Monday, they're going to get an earful. So we'll give them a chance. All right, I'm not their only customer, so I'm not their only screw up. So how did this come about? So this machine, our friend Planet Kryos reached out to us and he said, can you recommend a mini PC for gaming under, you know, whatever amount of money? And I said, you know, there's one that just came out and it might just be exactly what you're looking for. He took a look at it, he goes, yeah, thank you. And I said, well, no, wait, not so fast. What if instead of you buying that from Amazon, what if we bought it from Amazon? And we can build it all up here on camera, make some content out of it, and then we'll ship it to you, and I'll cover, you know, any additional expenses. He's like, sounds good to me. And then after he agreed, I said, oh, wait a minute, I just realized this might be 2 weeks before it arrives. It literally just came out, and it may not be in inventory yet. He said, oh, that's fine, no hurry. So we ordered it about 10 days ago, 10 or 11 days ago, and it arrived a little earlier, right? Because it could have gone as much as 20 days. It could have been the end of the month before we received it. And we got it yesterday, and yeah, so what we're going to have to do is, you know, we'll take a look at it, evaluate it. We'll put the NVMe drive in there. We'll put the RAM in there, and then we have to install our own operating system. That's what bare bones means. It's sort of you put it together yourself, or you finish it yourself. And while we're doing that, of course, we evaluate it and kind of review it as we would any other mini PC, but understanding that this really is aligned and designed for those who want to game. Not that you couldn't use it for anything else, but if you're not gaming, you wouldn't necessarily need to spend this much money. Really depends on the use case. I mean, if you're not hauling anything anywhere, you probably don't need a pickup truck. If you got a big family, you probably won't do much good to have a sports car. If you live somewhere where electricity is expensive, an electric vehicle may not do you well. If you like to drive somewhere if you have to go to like a downtown area every day to go to work, parking is very limited and the spots are really narrow, a much smaller compact car with good gas mileage would probably be more appealing to you in that scenario than driving a giant Chevy Suburban or Yukon or something. So what I'm trying to get at is different computers are not worse or better. It's in a particular category at a particular price. Does it meet the needs of that buyer? So if you're not buying the right thing, you're probably not going to be a happy customer, and that's not the manufacturer's fault. That's on you. All right, so I want to be clear that the reason I do these videos is to help educate people and have them know what to look for, so they don't have to keep coming to me and asking me, what do I think? What I think is irrelevant. Question is, what do you think? Will it do what you want it to do, and will you be happy with it at that price, with whatever warranty and whatever the situation is? I can lead you to the water. I just can't make you drink the water. So that's up to you. That's all my role is here today, is just introduce you to products. I'm not here to sell them to you. And in most cases, I'm not here to tell you to avoid them either. Just that's for you to decide, not me. There are a few exceptions. However, I just don't want there to be any misunderstanding. I'm not making a commercial here. This is all fully independent review done by a real computer technician, myself as an author, an instructor, as a journalist, as a computer repair technician for over 30 years. I've taught at the college, I've written books, I've written articles for magazines, and even Tom's Hardware I've written articles for. This is not to boast, it's not to have an ego, it's to let you know where the information is coming from. It's coming from somebody who's no spring chicken. I didn't just start this job yesterday, and I haven't just been a hobbyist, but I've been held accountable to customers. And if I wasn't making those customers happy, I wouldn't be in business. So keep that in mind. What I'm telling you comes from a place of business. Is this something I would sell? Is this something that would represent me if I'm suggesting to Planet Kryos and I'm recommending this. I'm making an assumption based on everything I'm seeing and what I know from Aoostar that this is going to be as good as I expect. But until I get one in my hands, I don't know. And of course, if I thought it was junk or I thought it was a bad value, we wouldn't even bother with it, right? So anything you see on this bench, I am hopeful, or I wouldn't bother doing it. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be what I think it is, and it's a good solid value, probably the best value on the market for a proper gaming PC that has discrete graphics. Okay, so that I just want to give that all full disclosure. We are live and unscripted here every single time we make a video. It is mostly 100% live, 100% unscripted, and my opinions are my own opinions based on my experience in the industry as a professional, not as a hobbyist. If that means anything to you, well, there you go. If it doesn't, there you go. I'm paid the same either way. And I'm paid by the viewers. If I'm not satisfying the viewers, I'm not going to be making any money. We have no sponsorships here, so we're going to try and keep it commercial free as far as any sort of paid sponsorships. There are a few companies I would sponsor with, but so far that hasn't worked out. I'm still working on that, but at this point we are a viewer-supported channel. Our members are what make these videos possible. And even the gentleman that's agreed to let us review this and send it on to him is a member as well. So he's not only helping us in that way financially by being a member, but also helping us by allowing us to participate in this purchase. And in the way we pay him back for that is, you know, we'll throw the RAM and NVMe in there at no charge for him, and we'll pay for the shipping to him. It's a good deal for him. It's a good deal for me. And if you guys are interested in working out something like that with us, we'd love to work with you. Only in the USA, though, because of the tariffs and the shipping costs, just so you know, it just makes it, it doesn't make any sense financially, and the risk to ship outside of the United States. But if you want to reach out, do so privately, please. All of our business is conducted privately, as is the norm in America. I don't know how people conduct business in other countries, but it's usually a private matter between the parties involved and not for everybody to watch. So we work it out for what works out for you and what works out for us, and then our audience potentially gets to enjoy some new content that we're not having to you know, invest in to make the content and then have something like this sit on a shelf. It really is it's a great business model if we can get enough viewers that offer us that opportunity, and we can help save them some money while we save money on the content. Then it takes some of the financial pressure off of us as well. So with that, I want to thank Planet Kryos for allowing us to do this. Quite honestly, he didn't have to say yes, and hopefully we'll save him a little bit of money too. So everybody can win. You get new content, he gets more for his money. We have new content that we don't have to fully fund. So I am happy with it. If we could do that more, it'd be wonderful. All right, let me jump over to the chat room and say hello to everybody before we get started today. I got to scroll all the way to the top. I've missed a lot. Gilberto Colazzo says hello, as does Eddie Casanova, Mark Baggett, and Mark Gaines. I see Dennis KF0 saying hello, and our friend Buster joining us from Bonnie, Scotland, where he says the temperature in Edinburgh is 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 18.8 degrees Celsius right now. I think we're in the 90s right now. We have a little bit of a cool down, but the 110s are coming back next week, so I'm going to enjoy my 15-degree cooler temperature while I can. I'll take the 66 any day. You want to trade? Eddie Casanova saying hello, as well as Ben Laird joining us from Scotland. 3D Everything says hello. There's David Graham, and I also see Luke Greenia. Luke joins us from Vermont. Mark Leibowitz joins us from Chicago. And Andy W6AD says hello. There's Dustin Fuller and Thomas MacT. Welcome in, everybody. Kurt Schlegel says hello. And Andy says it's 84 degrees Fahrenheit in eastern San Diego County mountains. Jose Lopez says hello. Dazzle555 joining us. Richard DeFries says hello. Mara has turned the chat on for everybody since we had a successful test run yesterday. I've told Mara and I discussed it, and we said, okay, let's see if people will continue to be respectful and have some decorum and dignity as they did yesterday. And of course, I'm talking about non-members, because if we ever have problems in the chat room, it only comes from non-members. I'm not saying all non-members cause it. Only those who cause it when it happens are always non-members. So when we open up to non-members during a live video where you can interact with me, you can understand how that can be very disruptive to the video. So I've instructed Mara to keep an eagle eye on the chat, and the minute somebody comes in here and wants to ruin it for everybody else, it goes back to members only. Okay, so we're just trying to offer an invitation to random people that we assume the benefit of the doubt. When we're proven wrong, the invitation is revoked. Okay, so just so you know, I think it's the only fair way. We give everybody a chance. And of course, if you really, really want to interact with us all the time without that issue, please support us, because without the supporters, you wouldn't even be here to begin with. There'd be no content for us. So we thank the supporters more than you can possibly imagine. They are our sponsors. Barry Klein says hello and joins us along with Chris Garrett, Doman 2000, and John P. Welcome in, guys. Now, let's do an unboxing. Yeah, I'm ready to get started. To get my electrolytes on. Come ready. All right, so if I go to, let's see, let me go over to camera 2. Okay, we're going to put this Western Digital black drive in. That's a Gen 4 drive. We're going to put in our TEAMGROUP. This is SODIMM memory at DDR5, 32 gigs at 16 each at 4800 mega transfers. This is the unboxing of the Aoostar GODZ or GODZ. Surprise is about to happen. Okay, is that a good surprise? Let's hope so. Looks like we've got some documentation, information if you need help or support. This feels like a power brick. And now the unveiling. Oh, I wasn't expecting it to be gunmetal gray. That's pretty nice color. Got some rubber feet here on the bottom. I'll just set that up here. And let me move some things out of the way so you can see a little better. Does that show a picture of what we're working on? I'll put this up over here so you guys can see. When I go to the wider screen, you'll be able to see the reminder of what we're looking at here today. What's interesting is there is a sticker on the top, which to me looks like it should be on the bottom, but there's feet on the bottom. Okay, for whatever reason, they put sticker information on top. Interesting choice. And let's see what is in here. I know our power brick. There's definitely a power brick in here. we've got our Wi-Fi antennas. Oh, and there's an Allen wrench, I guess, to take the lid off so we can work on it. We have a small HDMI cable. I'm not quite sure why, because there's no way you're mounting this behind your screen. But I guess if you need a short-run HDMI for some reason, you get one. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Where this makes sense is when you're mounting a small mini PC behind the monitor. Then you need a short HDMI cable just to keep the mess from getting too tangly. I don't know why they've included that. And this is our power brick. Quite an unusual shape, too. Wow, this is different. I think it's got a lot of plastic on it. So they put all this plastic on here, and you don't want to leave it on because it can cause an overheating situation. Also, the plastic tends to yellow and to bubble up, and it'll look terrible after a couple of months for most people. So if you keep the plastic on, when you sell this 6 years from now or whatever, when you're done with it, you really kept it nice and clean for the next person who owns it, and that's very thoughtful of you. I'd recommend you take advantage of it and enjoy it while it's clean. We have a fold-down prongs here to plug it directly into the wall. Not a fan of this because this is awfully big and it's going to block some ports. So obviously I wouldn't plug it into a top part of a duplex. You could plug it into the bottom, but it's big and it's heavy and all that weight is going to hang off the wall. That's not good for the electrical socket. It can cause the outlet to become loose and then plugs don't stay in it anymore. This instead should have been an like a laptop has, just a cable that runs from the wall to this. I'm not a fan of this design. I think it's neat they made it so small, but it's so heavy to hang that off an outlet. I'm not a fan of that. Even if you were to plug it into a surge protector, it's going to weigh down like this. Right? It's plugged in this way, but all the weight, if I try to balance this on my finger, it clearly goes that way, which would unplug it very easily from the counterweight. So this right out of the gate, not a fan of this, but it's not terrible. It just could have been better. Now, as far as wattage goes, what is this thing? Let's take a look. Let me bring it up to the camera. We can look together. Let me go camera 1 on this one. All right, let's go over here. Come around here. Come on now, focus for me. Got it? I wish this said Aoostar on it somewhere. It's got a different company name. This is the company that makes the power brick. This is pretty common with mini PCs, and you don't want to get these mixed up in the future should they become separated, because it's a standard barrel power connector, I think. Well, this one's a little wider than most with a center pin. Well, they're always going to have a center pin, though, if it's barrel connector. No, not necessarily. Well, anyway, I would get a marker or a label maker, and I would write down that this is for the GODZ or Aoostar, and I do that so that when these become separated, and they will in time, that you'll be able to confidently plug the right adapter in and not let the magic smoke out. I definitely have to get my bigger glasses out because I cannot read how tiny this font is to read the voltages on this. This is output of it says 20 volts. They're normally 19 volts. It says 16.5 amps. Don't see a wattage on this. Interesting. I'm not quite sure what the wattage is on this. Suppose we can do the math on it. This is auto switching, so by just changing this corner piece out, they can adapt it to other countries' outlet style. And it auto switches from 240 to, from 110 volts to 240 volts. It auto senses that and adjusts, as would any modern power supply. Yeah, I don't see a rated wattage. However, it may be on the product page. We go looking at the product page. Then I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to show you a close-up. I want to do this. Maybe like, does that work? I don't know. Here's a front. I got to cover my face. It tries to focus on my face. Okay, there's the front. Here's your power button up there. There's a USB Type-C, separate microphone and headphone inputs and outputs. USB Type-A, looks like a BIOS reset down there. Again, I am confusing my camera on where I want it to focus. Underside, there's our rubber feet. Everything is metal. For better or for worse, you might think metal's a better material. It's stronger and sturdier than plastic, but it can be very difficult to get a Wi-Fi signal out of this. But they've solved that by putting the Wi-Fi antennas on externally here. And there's our barrel power connector. Of course, I'm holding this upside down. This is the bottom. It does appear that we have another input and output for speaker and microphone on the back. Look at that. When have I ever seen that before? 4 more USBs, Type A. There's a couple of our Ethernet ports, which I think are 2.5 gig. I'll have to just verify. And then you've got some dust jackets over the display port and HDMI. Now, oftentimes, one of the ways that USB Type-C would deliver another monitor output involves integrated graphics on your CPU. Needless to say, should be needless to say, you cannot add a monitor through this USB-C port. That's the downside of having a more powerful discrete graphics card. If they had a CPU with integrated graphics and a discrete graphics card, well, then you'd be able to potentially do USB-C to video output. So essentially what I'm trying to tell you is you're only going to hook 2 monitors up to this. There are USB Type-A adapters that basically like a USB video card, if you will, that are potential purchases, and you can hook multiple monitors up to one display port, and you can look up videos on how to do that. So there are workarounds for it, but this is a gaming machine. All right, that's what it's intended to do. It's not intended to, be a day trading machine. Now, what it's intended to do is what it's intended to do best. You can do lots of other things with it. It may not do those things as well, but it'll still do them, whatever that is. All right, so if you, for example, want to plug 3 or 4 monitors into this, there's a way to do that. But there's an easier way if you bought a machine that was intended and built for 3 or 4 monitors. This was not. Our Wi-Fi antennas, we'll just put those in the box for right now. And of course, we cannot boot this up or turn it on because it has no memory storage or operating system. So that's where our fun begins. And well, they did give us an Allen wrench. I really don't want to use it. Here on this side, actually, I guess I should bring this back up to the camera. You can just look through the mesh and you can see these 2 fans. One's for your graphics card processor and one's for your CPU. If you come around the other side, we do have a big cooling fan here that's going to keep this area cool. That's going to have your Wi-Fi card, your RAM, and your storage, at least it should. So this is the side we're going to remove by removing these 6 screws here, and these are the Allen head screws. Not everybody has a set of Allen head drivers, so don't lose the one they give you. Now with these fans in there, there's 3 of them and they're pretty big. This could get a little loud. I mean, if it did, I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'd be surprised if it didn't, given how everything's open, right? There's really nothing to block the noise on either side. And those 3 fans, look, if you want a gaming machine, you're going to be drawing some serious power. Your graphics card is, you know, probably 100 watts or more. As a result, you're going to generate more heat. You're going to need more aggressive cooling. If you don't like that, maybe don't look for such a nice gaming computer. Look for something, you know, look, if you want a high performance car, don't expect to get good gas mileage. It just one goes with the other, power and efficiency, back and forth. So if that's a thing that bothers you, well, something for you to consider. I don't have an opinion on it either way. It doesn't bother me, but it does bother enough people. And by the way, it's nothing money can't fix. But if you want to spend $700 and have a system of this level, you're going to spend more if you want it to be quieter. And you can have whatever you want so long as you're willing to pay for it. All right. Let's see, which side of this am I opening? We're going to go to this side over here. Let me get my glasses. And let's see if I have... This one's probably too big. I'm just going to fidget my way through this. How about this one? This one looks right. Very good. Let's go back over to camera 2. The surgeon is ready. I just think this is a lot easier than that Allen wrench. The Allen wrench is, if you have nothing, it's better than nothing. But if you have a proper driver like this, it's a lot easier. Ooh, that was in a little tight. So we're going to get into the specs on this once I get everything installed, because I realize we haven't gone through everything yet. But the links for everything are in the video notes if you want to jump ahead and bring up the websites that, you know, both Amazon and Aoostar that specify, you know, all of the details. You're welcome to do that at any point that you want to, or just stick with us and we're going to get to that once we get it up and running here. There's Planet Kryos with a $2 super chat. He says, there it is. Sorry, I can't watch this live. He says, hello. Well, good to see you, Planet Kryos. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you again for sharing this with us so that we can, I was really looking forward. I still am looking forward to playing with this because it's such a unique design. Probably the closest thing to this we've seen in the past would be Minis Forum. You know, they have the HX99, HX100. Those were similar, but all plastic, which, again, I don't see that as a bad thing. My understanding is Minis Forum has canceled that model. They're not making it anymore. And so this is kind of like that, but Mechazilla style. Okay, so inside here, we've got a fan that looks like it's just going to pull off. Look at that. And if you look very carefully, we have our NVMe slot. I don't know how well you can see that. There's one here, and there's one all the way down here going this way. This one goes this way. Our Wi-Fi card is right here, and our 2 RAM sockets right here. So all I'm going to do is add our RAM and our NVMe. I think this NVMe is the easiest one to get to, this one here. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to... Oh, I guess it'll be all right either way. I was going to say, with this metal piece down here, it's just a little bit inwards to the screw that holds the NVMe down this way. So you do have the 2 NVMe slots. I believe they're both Gen 4, but we'll verify that. I'm going to start by, let's see, I think we'll put the, since we're talking about NVMe, we'll put the NVMe drive in first. This NVMe is about $100, and it's got a pretty nice hefty heat sink on it here. Most of the time when I'm doing custom builds, the motherboards have their own heat sinks. But if, in this case, we don't have any heat sinks, there's nothing under this lid, there's nothing attached to this fan to draw any heat, I don't know if just the blowing air is enough to keep a Gen 4 drive cool. So just to play it safe, and because we have a lot of space, you know, that heatsink could be very tall, and we won't have any, well, now when I said that, we'll make sure that the fan will still fit back in. So to put this in, we're going to take out the screw that holds the Wi-Fi card in. That same screw is also going to hold the NVMe drive in. We've seen that many times before on other builds, other mini PCs. So let's go ahead and take that screw out, put the NVMe drive in. Now the antennas are running underneath the NVMe drive here. They're taped to the circuit board, and I don't want to move them, so we're just going to keep them right there. And then, I can see a potential issue here. The Wi-Fi antennas are placed underneath the NVMe drive. So right here are our Wi-Fi antennas, and if you push down too hard on that, you're going to pull the antennas right up off of the Wi-Fi card. So that's not a good location. Maybe I'm going to try this other location instead. And the other reason the other location may be better is when we put the fan back on, that's going to go on this way. Oh no. So they have a big hole here, so the heatsink won't interfere. That's what I was a little worried about. Wait a minute. I'm not putting it on right. I'll take it back. So the heatsink would be up around this area. It is potential that we could not put this fan back on with this in there. So unfortunately, that's not a very good design. If they would have designed it this way, it would have fit no problem. So I think for those two reasons, we're not going to use this slot right here. So what I'm going to do, just to keep my life organized, is I'm going to put the screw back in that holds the Wi-Fi card down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and if you look very carefully right down inside, you'll see there's an M.2 slot right over here, and we're going to run it this way. Let's see how difficult this is to put in with this bracket kind of hovering over it. Well, the good news is the screw fits right, the screwdriver fits right by the edge of this case panel and aligns perfectly with the screw, so I don't have to go in at any funny angles. That's good. Now let's try putting the drive in over on this side. And I'll bring this up here in just a minute to show you what it looks like, but for me to do this and show you at the same time, well, it's a little bit of a challenge, but that fits like a glove, much better fit. Where is this plugging in? I'm not quite sure how you would access the other end of this cable. But let me go back up to the camera. Let's go back to camera 1. And I'll just hold on to both sides here. Hold on to the fan. Normally I would just unplug the fan while I'm doing this, but let's see if I can figure out how to show this to you. Let's come up like this. Just drape this over. Okay, so there you can see the Western Digital black. You can see how this lip right here kind of covers it up, but it doesn't really get in the way. You see, we're going to put our RAM in next, right up. I need another hand. Our RAM will go in next into these slots over here. There's our CMOS battery right there. That's our Wi-Fi card over there. But if you notice, you see the antennas on the Wi-Fi card? When you put an NVMe drive down here and you're securing this end of the NVMe drive, it pushes down. The NVMe drive is going to push down on top of those antennas. I suppose maybe the NVMe drive is supposed to go under that. I'm not sure. That's a little confusing. And it may be in the documentation, which I'm not looking at, because I shouldn't have to. And then this fan is going to sit right back like this. once we're done. And then the 6 screws that hold the lid on also hold the fan in place. Okay, so it's a sturdy design. It's kind of built like a tank, for better or for worse. So with our NVMe drive installed, I can now go to the RAM. I think this is all brand new stuff. Yeah, it's never been opened. I was just going through some inventory I have here on the shelves to figure out if I needed to order anything, and prior to today's build, and I was pretty sure I was going to have an NVMe drive that will work. And I was pretty sure I had some SODIMM DDR5 RAM. I just wasn't sure if it had been used in a project or not. But clearly this has never been used before. So there's our 1 module, documentation. And then always bend the plastic. Don't bend the RAM. Don't grab that RAM and bend it to get it out of here. Okay. Back over to camera 2. So 1 memory module is going to go over here. This is a little tricky. Hopefully you have small hands like I do and you can get them in there. The label is going to go down on this side and it'll go up on the other side. Sort of oppose each other. It's pretty common in this. When you see 2 RAM sockets back to back, one goes up, one goes down. And then when we push it down, we should hear it click into place. The RAM is going to go in on an angle. And there's a little notch that's going to align right there. It should fit in there nice and easy, and it should kind of go up and down like a diving board. And then very gently press down. You're going to get resistance, and you're going to hear that click as the retention levers now hold the RAM in place. So that is installed, our RAM and NVMe. It's pretty easy. Anybody can do it. As I've demonstrated, anything I demonstrate, anybody can do. Let's be clear. So we'll put that fan back on there. And then we'll put our cover back on. And I want to make sure I put this cover on the right direction. Does it go this way? Boy, it almost looks like it could go on either direction. So now, because I wasn't paying attention, I'm not sure. It says right here there's a down arrow. What does that say? Wow, that is such tiny writing. Hold on, let me get those magnifying glasses out again. Holy moly. How am I supposed to read that? When removing the back cover, please be cautious of the wires on the back. Open it carefully from this direction. Okay? Great. Good to know. Does this have a direction? Is it exactly the same this way as it is this way? Sure as hell seems to be. So the question is, if we rewind the video, was this down arrow by the feet, or was this down arrow an up arrow? I don't think it matters much. I'm OCD that way. I like to put it back together the way it came apart. Hold on a second. Let me take a quick look at my own video. We're going to come back here. Oh man, I didn't realize I needed to pay attention to that. That's what I get. So hold on. I know I brought this up to the camera, and let's see. When I bring it up to the camera, which way is that arrow facing? It looks like the arrow is, no, I got to turn it around. Turn it around, Carey. But this guy doesn't listen. Here I am walking up with the camera. I see the arrow facing up. Tilt it more. Tilt it. Come on, man. Okay. So what I'm showing is when I'm holding this, I'm holding it this way. and I can see the gap from the top of the fan, and then I see the arrow. So pretty confident that's how it came off. I could still be wrong. I'm just confident. All right, just so we're clear. Let me jump back over here. Very good. Now, I only needed this little driver for the NVMe installation, so we're done with that. And then once I put these screws back in, if everything works, in fact, I probably should not screw this back together until I verify that it works. But I'm going to do it anyway because I'm in a mood. How about that? Unfortunately, I guess this is not magnetized. Do I have a magnetizer on here? Maybe those screws are aluminum. Not sure, but that's all right. It ain't gonna hold us back none. There's nothing for this to really seat into, so it just slides all over the place until you manually align the holes. For that reason, I'm gonna just start one corner, and then I'm gonna start the other corner, and what that's gonna do is that's gonna keep it aligned to the other four. Oh, that's not very good. I just dropped the screw down inside. So without that, having that magnetism, it absolutely makes us a little bit more of a challenge to get these screws started. Once they're started, we can go and shouldn't have any problem with any other alignment on any of these other screws. So I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know why they couldn't have used a Phillips driver. I don't know why they had to be these Allen head screws, but I also don't know why they needed so many. Like if this side would have slid in with some catches, like little metal latches, then you wouldn't have any orientation confusion. And then that would hold this side in, and then just put 2 screws here to hold this fan in, and 2 screws here to also hold the fan and the lid. We could reduce 2 of those screws and confuse any orientation issues regarding the reinstall. The orientation really, I suppose, doesn't matter. It looks like it'll look the same regardless, but I kind of feel like the manufacturer should advise us. Like, there's a reason why they put it on the direction they did, and they don't really tell us why they did it that way, and they do them all the same. So I don't want to put it back together with it flipped around the other way, since I don't know why or what decision was made, why that decision was made to put it on a certain orientation without preventing it from being turned around. And it could be as simple as we didn't really think about it, you know, or they might have thought about it. I don't know. All right, so I guess before I put this away, I should at the very least check and make sure that this works. So to test it, I mean, we're ready to fire it up. We're going to go ahead and plug our adapter in, and here's the thing, you know, this giant monster has got to go right into the wall or the surge protector, and it's quite heavy and just not a good design. I'm just not a fan of this. Now granted, you could get an extension cord and plug in from here to the wall, and that'll take all this heavy weight from hanging off your wall or hanging off your surge protector. This piece does look like it comes out, and so that you can switch it to different countries. I'm not sure how that comes out, but it does look like somehow that that's a replaceable piece. And apparently, depending on what country they're shipping it on, they take care of this at the factory. So I don't know that it's not glued in place. No reason for me to remove it. I was just curious. All right, let me go back to camera 1. Let's plug this in. I'll just go down to the surge protector here, since it's closer to the unit. And yeah, the whole surge protector is now tilted off to the side from the weight of that, which is what I predicted. We only have about a 5-foot cord here. That's the other downside by not giving you the ability to plug a cord into it. It limits the length of cable for how far away the adapter can be plugged in without buying an extension cord. So, not happy with this power adapter at all. let's plug this in here. And then we need a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor. We're not giving it any internet access. I think that NVMe drive is wiped clean. It may never have been used. I don't remember. So it could boot into Windows from a prior install. Or it just takes us into the BIOS. Here's my dongle for the keyboard and mouse. This is upside down. It goes this way onto its rubber feet. HDMI right here. It is tangled. Of course it's tangled. There we go. And we're going to plug it in right up at the top. Power, keyboard, mouse, video. That's all we're doing. I'm going to hit the power on. Fans are spinning. And let's see if we go over to HDMI 3. Where is my HDMI 3? It's in here somewhere. Oh, I've already selected it. We're just waiting. It's still training the RAM and CPU. That's why I'm not getting anything. And hopefully we will get there it is, a power on self-test acknowledgement. And yeah, that drive is completely blank with no operating system. Here's what our BIOS looks like. Phew, that was easy. If you want to go to like that CBS area here, we can control things like the CPU power and things. If you really wanted to crank this thing up, you could. I'm going to leave everything default. We got two internet Ethernet controllers from Intel, the i226. So they're both Intel. I normally wait till I'm in Windows to look at the device manager for that. Let me come back over here for a second, and let me grab my Windows 11 installation media. Just right here. Plug it into one of these USB ports. Just like that. Give that a second to initialize. And then we're going to come back over here and we'll go to, let's see, discard changes and exit. I didn't make any changes. This time when it boots, it'll say, you know, I still have nothing to boot from. Oh, wait a minute. I have a bootable USB. So I don't have to tell it to override the boot options because it's the only boot option it has right now. Until that NVMe drive is partitioned and formatted with a bootable operating system, this thing has nothing else to boot to. So therefore, you don't have to go in the BIOS, you don't have to change your boot order. It does it automatically if you just leave it alone. Same with the date and time. Leave that alone too. It'll take care of it automatically. Once we're all done and connected to the internet, it'll sync with the internet time clock and set the date and time. Okay? Okay. So, let me go back full screen over here so I can see it the way you guys at home get to see it. You have a much better view than I do. Okay, now I can see it the way you see it. And I'm going to go through these options the same as I always do. Hopefully, it'll see our NVMe drive. I'm going to tell it I don't have a product key, but I will be buying a Windows 10 Pro product key. And it will use that Windows 10, I will use that Windows 10 Pro product key, and I will enter it as a Windows 11 into Windows 11 Pro, and it will activate. I do not have to install Windows 10, and the Windows 10 Pro product key is about $2 or $3 cheaper. Now, after Windows 10 support ends, that free upgrade is probably going away, but once you've done it, you're good for the life of the machine, for the life of the motherboard. You'll never have to do it again. But you can't take a home license and activate Pro with it. You can't take a Pro license and activate Home with it. There's disk 0, 1 terabyte. That's it. Next. Disk 1 is our USB flash drive we're using to install Windows. And yeah, that's what we want. Install, and we're off to the races. And this shouldn't take very long to install. Since everything's working, let me go back over to camera 1, and let me just put camera 1 here in a corner. You can see Windows installing, and you can see what I'm doing here while we're waiting. This is a good time for me to just kind of clear some mess. Done with my tools, so I need to put the tools away so I know where they are the next time I need them. So everything goes back where it belongs. It's my little toolkit there. And this and this. This is all kind of trash. What's in here? Some documentation. Go faster sticker. That's a lot of packaging for that little guy. Package from the RAM. And we'll keep the documentation for the RAM and the NVMe with the box that came with this. Fans are actually pretty quiet right now. Barely notice them. So they're not as bad as I was thinking they could be. But I think when you really put this through the ringer, you're going to know you're doing it. It'll crank up. All right, let's see. I hope I don't need those magnifying glasses in. All right, let's see if you have any questions for me here in the chat room. Mark Leibowitz said, Carey's opening today reminded me to provide an update on my failed B-Link mini PC. It's a little involved for chat. So I made a post in the forums. Look for B-Link tech support experience. Oh, good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Helps us to set expectations. Should we require that kind of a service with this company, with B-Link? Not this company. This is Aoostar. So not to confuse our viewers, talking about two different things there. Rip City Raider became renewed support. Thank you for renewing your support for Rip City Raider. Alan with a Y says hello. Andy says, do not buy this from Aoostar direct. They want a 145% tariff in addition to the base cost. Well, I normally don't order direct from any manufacturers. I order from Amazon because the return process is so much more smooth. It's, I don't have to, if for any reason I need to return something, it's always the same when I'm buying with Amazon Prime. And if I'm going to buy from a third-party manufacturer, I just don't have that peace of mind. So if I wouldn't do that for a customer, I wouldn't do that for me. Now, I realize we do have the link there in the video notes to Aoostar, but it's not really there for ordering reasons. It's there so you can get all the specifications if you want to know where to get the drivers. See, if I don't post that link, when I post a link, you might think I'm suggesting you can buy it from there, which I'm not. If I don't post the link, then people go, where are you going to get the drivers for this? I have to post the link. So please understand why the links are there, and always know, please, I always recommend you buy from a reputable retailer you have experience with that you trust. If I can buy minis for them from Amazon, I'd prefer to buy it from Amazon. If I'm buying B-Link, I prefer to buy it at Amazon. If I'm buying Aoostar, I prefer to buy it from who? That way I know if there's any issues, it will be resolved the same way any other issues from Amazon have been resolved. They're very good with that. And with regards to shipping, I also find Amazon shipping's far faster. So even if Amazon's going to cost me 10 bucks more for the peace of mind and the faster shipping, then on top of that, you're talking about tariffs. That's not going to happen when it's shipping from Amazon because it's already here. Therefore, the tariff should be built into the price. All right, now we're here at the sort of out-of-box experience part of this. So I have to go full screen again so I can see. Okay, United States, yes. US keyboard, secondary skip. Not connected to an internet. Got to tell it twice usually. No, I don't have to tell it once. I'll put the word user in here, and if Planet Kryos doesn't like that, he knows how to change it. Leave the password blank, and then we're going to go through our privacy settings. I just turn everything off but location. Location is going to keep that date and time always up to date. As clocks naturally lose or gain minutes and seconds, it'll correct that before it gets out of hand. Daylight savings also will self-correct.
You have email.
I have email.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you.
Sorry, Mark. I was a little delayed.
Mara's coming down here like AOL. You've got mail.
You got me.
All right, that's our final setup. And then once this is done, I will be able to plug the internet in. Hopefully, Windows 11 auto detects the network card. If it doesn't, I'll use my USB network adapter and just plug it in that way. That'll get us online. That should download all the drivers. If any drivers are missing, then I'll go to the Aoostar website and grab whatever's missing. I don't know yet, but I'm not worried about it one way or the other. We got this. Icarana says, supposedly Amazon returns are getting worse. Well, supposedly I'm 10 feet tall, and supposedly I weigh 4,000 pounds. Unless you have a personal experience you'd like to share with us, it's all fish stories, man. You don't need to tell us fish stories. Just because you heard something from someone doesn't make me 10 feet tall, nor does it make me 4,000 pounds. So please don't share kinds of, don't share hyperbole and conjecture. I'd much prefer you shared a real experience. So if you have had an actual experience that you felt Amazon returns did not meet your expectations, we'd love to hear about your experience. We don't want you telling us about other people's supposed experiences, because a lot of it's BS. A lot of it never happened. So just so you know, I am not 10 feet tall, and I do not weigh 4,000 pounds. Close. All right, let's take a look at our device manager. First and foremost, I'm just curious. Let me get rid of myself. I don't need to be looking at my 10-foot self. Let's go to full screen over here for me and take a look at our device manager. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff that's missing. Let's go here and see device manager. Oh, see, our Ethernet controllers are not detected. So I have a very easy workaround for that. And then this other stuff is probably chipset related. Yeah, that's going to be AMD chipset related. And then if we look at the system properties, right click, go to system, we can verify that it sees all 32 gigs of our RAM, which it does. We've got the proper CPU in there, which it does. Our Windows is 24H2 that we just installed. Very good. Now, of course, we haven't activated this. I'll do that after the show. There's really no downside to not activating. You get a watermark that says you need to activate, and maybe you can't change your wallpaper or some desktop icons, but you can run Windows 11 forever without activating it. It is technically a free operating system when you think about it. There's no trial period. It just runs forever. So if you don't mind a few little things you can't do, it'll still get updates. It'll do everything it's supposed to do. Let's close this out and let's go back over to camera 1. Let me go full screen on camera 1. And let me grab, well, first of all, I'm done with my Windows 11 installation media. That's all done with. And down, where did I put it? I've got my USB to Ethernet adapters in here. These sell for like, I've seen them on sale for $8, but usually between $10 and $20. And they have a USB-C version, which is what I have in my hands. They also, the more common USB type A, some even have a little adapter to convert. There's no particular reason I'm using this one. It's the first one I grabbed. It has USB-C on the end. This computer has USB-C. They all work the same. It doesn't matter to me, and unless this computer didn't have USB-C, then I wouldn't be using this. But since it's the random thing I grabbed, I have multiples of these, 1 gig, 2.5 gig, USB-A, USB-C. They're so inexpensive, and I just recommend you have one on hand because you never know when you might need it, such as in this example here. Now, alternately, I think the Wi-Fi was found, right? Because it did ask us to sign into Wi-Fi. So for most people that aren't making a live video, which I'm assuming none of you are doing, you could just connect to your Wi-Fi, which you're probably going to do anyway, and then download your drivers, and then we'll see if we get all the rest of the drivers from Windows Update or not. But since I'm live on video, I don't want to connect to my wireless network while we're live. So I'm just going to plug this little adapter into USB-C, and the driver should be built into Windows, so I don't have to worry about drivers for the USB NIC. Hold on, I'm all tangled up again. Here's my Ethernet cable. We're going to plug that in right here. Now let's go back over here. And it looks like we're getting an IP address in the bottom right corner. Yeah, we're online now. So I'm going to go to Windows Update. And while we're checking for updates, I just turn this on, this and this. I expect this will probably have some stuff here after it's done checking. I don't like this little cartoon thing down on the search, so I just type in search permissions. If I could type. Search permissions. Why is it opening up in a browser? That's all right, I want to go through this anyway. Start without my data. We can do all this while we're checking for updates. It's not interfering with that at all. Something to do. All right, let me close all that out now. And we'll go back to Windows Updates here. Let me try this again. Search permissions. That's what I wanted. I don't know why it didn't come up the first time. Probably typed it wrong, Carey. Under more settings, I'm going to turn that off, and then that little cartoon down here is going to go away forever. Bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much. Don't come again. Now let's come over here. We'll type in edit power, and then you'll see it says edit power plan up here. It kind of fills it in for us. That's what I want. I don't have to type the whole thing in. I do not want the display turning off 5 minutes into this live stream, and then we wonder what's wrong. I'm going to set it to 3 hours. Again, I'm on a live stream, so I don't want the monitor shutting off while we're working on this live around the world, broadcasting all over the world. That's kind of embarrassing, because the immediate reaction is, oh no, something went wrong, when in fact it was just the default setting. Now if I want to, I mean, I can uninstall these little, it's not bloatware, they're just little more or less links to download versions of the software they want to, ultimately they want to sell to you. And Xbox I don't want, LinkedIn I don't want. By the time I click the mouse, it's already gone. Like, that's not bloat. Bloat is fat. Bloat and fat kind of mean the same thing. Nothing about those apps is fat. They're very thin. Now, let me go back over to Windows Update. So settings, Windows Update. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, so it's already downloading and installing while we've been doing a little configuration. And if I go to advanced options, there may be some drivers. Yep, 4 available. Very good. So we're going to go in here and select all 4. There's an Intel.net. That's probably, well, it could be Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, actually. We'll find out. It could also be the drivers we need for the built-in network card. Either way, we're using the USB network card. We can use that indefinitely. There's no time limit on it. And you buy it once and you use it for the rest of your life, or at least until it's no longer useful. But it's not like they ever go bad. I've never seen a bad one in my life. So while that's running, let me jump back over to camera 1. Looks like a video driver is going in right now, because you see the Elgato no signal on the screen implies that it's replacing a video driver. And that's why I want to make sure that I'm not having the computer go to sleep after 5 minutes and not realizing it. And then I don't know, did it just go to sleep or is it updating a driver? That's why I always want to check that, especially during a live stream when everybody's wondering. And, you know, if I'm home alone and I have that question, That's, my secret. So we'll bring that over here, and I'm looking in the chat room right now to see if I'm missing anything. It also looks like our page didn't refresh properly here. So let me just take a look at, let me go full screen over here and just see if I can refresh whatever this is going on. Close whatever that is and just reopen it again. Again, it doesn't interfere with the process. Just something in the video driver didn't refresh right. We clearly replaced the video driver, and we had to do sort of a turn it off, turn it back on again motion there. So we'll let that run. If you have any questions for me, this will be the good time to ask. I'll do my best to provide answers for you. Arnold Albert joins us and says hello. Buster says, Mara, I see you have a crown, so you must be the queen of the channel. You just figuring that out now? Let's see. Martin Hogg says hello. Martin joins us from Scotland as well. John Williams joins us. Good to see you, John. And so far, this thing's been really quiet. I'm impressed. So while we're waiting for updates, again, if you have questions for me, fire away. Dazzle555 says drivers are very confusing. The only way it's confusing is if you're not familiar. So by simply forcing yourself to replace drivers manually, the more often you do that, the more you realize just how easy, just how simple it is. The problem we run into when we don't have any or very little experience is conceptualizing a reference. And so if you have no reference point from which to build on, you're sort of starting with nothing. But if you never start at all, you'll never make any progress. So the more often you do it, if it's important to you and you don't want it to be confusing anymore, start replacing some drivers. Go out of your way to install drivers by hand. After a while, you'll see they're all kind of the same. You just got to make sure you align the right driver with the right hardware. That's all. All it is. And a lot of times Windows Update takes care of, 90% to 100% of all of your drivers automatically these days. But I'll tell you what, back in the day, if you didn't know drivers, you just weren't going to use your computer. That was almost a prerequisite, or you hired somebody to take care of it for you. So to me, from my perspective, doing this over 30 years, drivers have always been a thing, and it's never been easier. So if you think it's hard now or confusing, you should have been trying that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in the 90s, in the early 2000s. Whew. Yeah, you'd have a whole different perspective based on experience. Once you get that experience, which is never too late, you'll realize it's really very simple. You just have to wrap your mind around the concept. Once you grab it, once that light bulb turns on, you'll never be able to unlearn it. That's the beauty of education, right? It'll stay with you for the rest of your life. But if it's not important to you, well, don't worry about it. If you have a system that Windows loads all the drivers for you, it's nothing you have to deal with. More than likely, it's a new computer, something recently released, new to the market. That's more than likely going to have drivers such as this. This just literally came out, and you can see how many drivers were missing. And then when Windows Update is done, we'll see how many drivers will be left. Because Windows Update will probably cover 90% of those drivers. It's possible, I'm not counting on it, it's possible Windows Updates will install all the drivers for us. We'll wait and see what happens and respond as needed. Noodles mentions IRQ. Interrupt requests. Yeah. Set your COM port and your IRQ for your modems and your printers and parallel ports. Fun stuff. David Herzog joins us and says hello. David Graham said sound cards were the hardest back in the day. See, I don't think so. I think that all of it's the same. Like if I'm installing a modem or a SCSI card or a sound card, they all just go in the same. But, you know, like I said, I've been doing this for such a long time and at such a large scale. When I was working at a company called TriStar Computer Corporation, I'd say an average 3 to 10 computers a day, 5 days a week for 2 years. After a while, and it doesn't take that long, it just sort of gets burned into your brain and it all just kind of becomes the same. So I guess that's why I have that perspective. I never, you know, never once did I ever see a sound card and go, oh, this is going to be harder to install than a modem or a SCSI. They're all the same. So, but that's just my perspective. Oh, I see Frankie is joining us, and Frankie, I assume you received your the mini PC today. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier in the chat. You may have, and I didn't see it. Dazzle555 says, does the Intel driver assistant always install the latest driver? It can be very difficult sometimes to tell what the latest driver is. Intel's driver versions may not match the same numbering as Windows Update's driver versions, which may not match the same update as the manufacturer's driver's versions. You're making the assumption that they all agreed on what the version is going to be called. So as far as Intel is concerned, yes, it's the latest driver. As far as Windows Update is concerned, they have the latest driver. And as far as the manufacturer is concerned, they have the latest driver. So to answer your question, both yes and no. If you're just fascinated with the latest drivers for no apparent reason, then you don't need to worry about it. So long as the device is working and you're not trying to fix anything, leave it alone. If there's no benefit to you updating the driver, then there's no reason for you to have any anxiety or concern about whether or not the driver you have is the latest one. If the driver you've got doesn't have any problems, what are you doing? You're just looking for problems? But the Windows driver assistant doesn't replace your human brain. As we mentioned the other day, driving a Volvo may be the safest car made, but you still have to know how to drive a car. You still got to make smart decisions behind the wheel. You don't get to turn your brain off and say, this will do the thinking for me. That's what you hire people for. I'm here to teach you, right? If you want to hire me because you don't want to learn it, that's something we can discuss. And if you're just trying to, if you just want the latest and greatest and you don't understand why you want it, I would advise you, especially when it comes to things that can damage a fully working computer, not to mess with it. If you want to mess with something, go get yourself a cheap computer somewhere from Goodwill or, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, and let that be the one you play with. That way you're not going to be stressed out. You can walk away from it if you get frustrated. You always have your working computer. What really bothers me is when people call me for service because they watched a YouTube video and someone showed how to change a thermal paste or something, and they had no reason to do that, and they ended up damaging their system, and now they've got to call me. I had one guy brought me a box of parts. He goes, can you put my laptop back together? So I'm all for encouraging people to do it on their own, but never give up. If you're somebody who's going to give up, don't even start. You need to see it through. That's the only way you're going to learn. If the minute you give up and you say, I got to put this to somebody else, it ain't right for you. I mean, this is just not the right category for you. On the other hand, it is if you choose. In other words, there's nothing I'm doing you can't do. It's just whether or not you're motivated to do it or if you give up too easy. The only way you're going to learn is if you do it yourself. If you don't want to learn, just pay somebody to do it for you. That's the best advice I can give you. If you're having a problem with the device not working properly and you want to make sure you've got the latest driver, absolutely. You can go to the manufacturer, you can go to Windows Update, you could go to Intel. This is not an Intel system, but
we could use the Intel Driver Assistant to update the network card drivers, but it probably won't make any difference in our networking from, if we get drivers automatically. If the driver works, it works. Now, I'm a technician. I know precisely through doing this countless times, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times in 30 years, that this is a no big deal thing for me. It could be the same way for you, but you've got to start somewhere. Do understand that if you decide to do that, that you accept the consequences. Now, we'll be glad to help you, by the way. You're welcome to join us at our forums or to send us an email. Explain what it is you have, what it is you did, and why you did it, what you're trying to accomplish, and we can guide you from that point. We're happy to do so. But we don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So we have to understand, what is it you're doing? Why are you doing it? What are you trying to accomplish? Once we get to know you a little bit, then we can guide you to the solution you're looking for, and then you have that learning experience, which is, I think it's a great value. It makes you more self-reliant. Let me restart this, and then we'll see what our condition of our device manager is.
Yeah, exactly what Carey said, and you said it very well.
You didn't even listen to a word I said.
I did.
Oh, I was supposed to check my email.
Duh, that's why I'm down here.
Duh. Hello. Blello. Cooking your blunions? Okay. Did Tiny Chef email us? Oh, our friend Mark Gaines with an Amazon gift card of $50. He says, I hope you enjoy the gift card. Instead of a super chat, here's a little gift card instead. We certainly appreciate these a lot more than the super chats. YouTube's taken 30% of your super chat. They won't even pass it on to us for 30 to 60 days. The Amazon gift cards we get instantaneously. Amazon takes nothing. If you send 50, we get 50. If you send it in 5 minutes, we'll get it in 5 minutes. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Jose Alvarez, what does he say? He says, oh, he's Photo Mix Media is asking about maybe doing something similar that Planet Kryos has done here with getting a new mini PC we can review and then sending it on to him. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Thank you for emailing that. That's for private discussion. We'll see if we can work something out. But let us know which machine if there's a machine you're looking at, which one is it? Or tell us what it is you're wanting the machine to do, and more importantly, what's your budget? Then we'll see if we can work something out there. Everybody should be able to chat right now, so. Mark Leibowitz left a comment about people that want to build their own NAS. Yeah. Yeah, those people obviously, you can often tell the hobbyists from the professionals based on the lack of any consideration for consequences. It's a pretty big discrepancy. So Mark was being sarcastic about, yeah, if you really knew your stuff, you'd just build a NAS. Now, if you really were held accountable for other people's profits and ability to work and help their customers, you would not put yourself in that position. So I appreciate the sarcasm, Mark. Sure, you can do it for twice as much money, take 3 times longer, and have all kinds of maintenance to go on, and consume a lot more energy in the process. Take up a lot more desktop real estate, and also have to tear the thing apart to switch out a drive. Have at it. If I'm not there, you start without me. Yep. From one technician to another, we can kind of nod our heads. And people that have never worked as techs and never held that accountability to other people that are paying them for their accountability, somehow that just doesn't wrap around their mind as a possibility. They can't even imagine that scenario. So my advice to those people is go get a job in IT, work it for a year minimum, and then come back and tell me if you feel the same way. Let's see. Let me go back to full screen and let's take a look at our device manager. Ooh, we're in 4K. That is way too tiny. Display settings. The 1080. Very good. Let's go back to Windows updates, just because there's probably updates to the updates. Yeah, we'll hit retry all. That's normal, nothing to worry about. Well, that's doing that. Right-click, Device Manager. Okay, so we did not get our Ethernet controller drivers. Nor did we get this multimedia controller or this PCI device. Now, there's some old school tricks to this, but unless you're living in the past, I don't know why you would continue to do things the way you were taught how to do them 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. The reason I make these videos every day is that's how fast the technology is moving. And I'm trying to help you keep up. So if you're resistant to keeping up, this is not the right channel for you. If you're saying, well, geez, Carey, I wouldn't do that because I learned to do it this way. So did I. I also learned to do it that way in the past. And I'm here to show you an easier, more efficient way to do it. If you're not interested in that, you probably are not interested in my content. So I'm not making fun of people when I say, you know, you're doing it the old school way. I am teaching no differently than any other instructor would teach their students. And if you feel like you don't need to be taught, there's nothing I'm going to make here on as a video that's going to be useful for you. All right, so just set your expectations accordingly. Let me go back to advanced options and see if there's any other optionals. There are no other optionals. Okay, so now, since we've gone this far, what I'm going to do is visit the Aoostar website. And let's just say, like in this example, I don't know what it is. So let me open that up again. Let's just type in Aoostar GODZ driver downloads. Okay, and right here, the very first link takes us to Aoostar drivers and systems. That looks like the exact link I wanted. First one, right on the top. How lucky is that? GODZ series drivers. Now, there's the GODX. I don't see the GODZ. That's interesting. Say no to that. And let me just get rid of camera 1 here so you can see this whole screen and you can watch it. I've never seen this in my life, and I'm going to show you how I navigate it, what I'm looking for. And eventually what you're going to figure out if you watch enough of my videos is it's always the same. It may look a little different, the websites are different, but what I'm looking for in my search results for the authentic source is always the same. What the site looks like is different, but what I'm looking for is always the same. After you do enough of these, you will start to recognize how everything is the same. It's just the way it looks changes. It's simply a matter of shifting perspective. Once your perspective is dead on and aligned with what we're doing, what we're looking for, suddenly you'll realize that's exactly the same as what we were looking for before with a completely different build a couple of weeks ago. If you go back a couple of years ago, mostly it's still the same, mostly. So it's not like you have to remember a certain process for a certain make and model. Once you understand the process, it fits all makes and models. So the GODZ series, the closest we have here is the GODX. Now the GODX and the GODZ, those are similar systems. What's interesting is it says, click this link to enter the AMD website, which can automatically check which drivers you need for your device. So we're talking about the AMD Adrenalin software. All right, that's great for your AMD chipset and also for your AMD Radeon graphics card. So let's do that first, because that will likely solve everything for us. What is this? Why do they have us? Okay, I don't agree with this. What this is doing is it's having us download the AMD software instead of getting it directly from AMD, and I don't know why they're doing this. A lot of software agreements for manufacturers prevent a manufacturer from doing just this, and they aren't even hosting it. They're hosting it at Mega. Mega is owned by Kim. His name, he changed his name. He's a German guy. Changed his name to Kim.com. And if you want to learn a very fascinating history about Kim.com, he's a polarizing character. I, for one, admire him. Some people think he's a terrible monster. I think it's admirable, and I think he's noble. We can agree to disagree if you see it another way, but hosting at mega.nz is a file sharing site. And you know, these smaller manufacturers, this is what they do. They can't afford their own file hosting. It's expensive, and then they'd have to pass that cost on to you, and then you're going to say their product's too expensive and you're not going to buy it. So you, as the consumers, are kind of forcing the companies to do this until they reach a certain size. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to download it from a file sharing site because that's sketchy. I trust it. It's just, why wouldn't I just go to AMD Adrenalin and just get it directly from AMD? I'm sure it'll be fine either way, but this is how I would do this on any other AMD system. Why would I do it any differently on this AMD system? It's always the same. So I'm going to go here, download Windows drivers. Now this is the little thing we're downloading. See, that's 25.6.1, and the one they're offering us was, well, I've already lost it. I think it was a lower number. So let's just go to our downloads folder. Or sorry, our downloads, yeah, right here. Right there, click on that, and let's begin that install. And that should provide us with the AMD chipset driver and video card driver. Even though we already got a video card driver from Windows Update, it is not one that we can manipulate with all of the features and bells and whistles that you get from the AMD software. In other words, Microsoft gives you a very basic functioning graphics card. But if you want to control the graphics card features, you need to install the software. And you see here it says additional options, and that should be our chipset. So let's do the, I'm going to uncheck this because I don't really want to help AMD. Let's close that because it's just in the way. And then it should be auto-detecting what our system qualifies for. If we had an Intel system, it would tell us your system doesn't meet requirements for the software, and the software will not install. So if you have an AMD system, it doesn't matter if that AMD system is from years ago or today, and you've never done this before, it would probably be in your best interest to make sure you do this. And if you're not sure if you've done it, do it again. It won't hurt anything. That way you're getting the latest version, which could include better performance, better security, and better reliability. Now, if you're not having any problems, you're not missing anything, and you're not curious, of course, leave it alone. So understand that anytime you make a change, unless you're making that change for a reason, there could be consequences that you don't like. If you're willing to play and learn, have at it. If you're not sure, you make a system image backup, and then you can do whatever you want. Feel free to edit your registry and load up some viruses, whatever makes your day, and then just simply restore your backup. That's your safety net. If you think of a trapeze artist, the flying trapeze, they always have a safety net under them, because if they don't, they probably won't be a trapeze artist for long. It's only a matter of time before their hand slips and they fall 30 feet to the ground. So that safety net is your backup. So if you want to play and you're worried and you have anxiety, make your system image backup, and then you can play all you want. And when you're done, restore your backup to undo all the playing you did. Unless your playing resulted in a better experience, in which case just hold on to your backup in case you're wrong. We're going to keep the AMD software up to date. We'll hit restart. When this restarts again, we're going to go in the device manager. AMD is not going to be providing us with Intel network card drivers or Intel anything drivers. The Intel driver assistant will provide us with updated network card drivers, but it doesn't provide us with any AMD drivers. The Intel assistant also doesn't provide you with chipset drivers for some reason I don't understand. So the chipset drivers, certain parts of the Intel product categories, you still have to download drivers manually. Now, if you just stick with the drivers made available by the manufacturer, you may not always get the latest driver from the part manufacturer, but you will get the latest drivers from the manufacturer of the PC, what they consider to be the latest drivers. Either way, unless you're trying to solve a problem, having the latest drivers may not be that important if everything's working. Let me right click on the start button. We're going to go back to device manager and we're going to take a look here and see what's missing. Okay, so that took care of a couple of things. So we're still missing 3 things here, right? The Ethernet controller, PCIe device. Now, going back to the Aoostar website, if I want to do this the easy way, not the old school way, I'm going to go back here once again. And since this system will probably need this site in the future, I'm going to bookmark it. So if Planet Kryos needs to go there, he doesn't have to search for it, even though he knows very well how to do this. This is just an easier way. So we're going to use the GODZ drivers because it's essentially the same computer as the GODZ. And I don't know why they're calling it a driver here, but on the previous page over here, they're calling it drives. I think it's a typo. Drives and systems. I think they meant drivers. I think somebody typed too fast and left out the R. Okay, AMD PSP device. I have no idea what that is. The AX210, that's a wireless network card. The Intel Ethernet controller. And then there's the AMD Adrenalin. That's 25.3.1. And we downloaded 25.6. So obviously the one from AMD is newer. Bigger number, newer version. So I'm guessing this AMD PSP, I honestly don't know what this is. Let's grab that, put a checkbox here, and we shouldn't need this because the Wi-Fi is working. Well, you know what, we'll grab it and we'll grab that. Then I want to say download. Download as a zip file. So in just a moment, it's gonna press all that. It calls it GODZ 6900HX. Again, all this should be the same drivers. It's the same computer. They just changed the CPU, which shouldn't require any different driver for the CPU alone. Boom, we've got it. So let's go to our downloads. It's still downloading. Says it's completed. Guess I have to close that. Well, that blue circle's still there, so it's still doing something. This can drive you crazy when it's downloading and it's doing some kind of a check. And you're like, geez, it took less time to download the file than it is to checking the file. There it goes, finally. I'll hit open and we'll see the contents of this file we downloaded. Let's just close this to prevent any confusion. And let's extract all these. That'll go right into our downloads folder right here. So I don't, oh, it gave us Adrenalin anyway. Oh, no, we download, that's our earlier download. I get it. All right, let's do this PSP thing, whatever that is. There's no setup here. So how is this going to work? Very simply, we're going to right click on the start button and go to device manager. And we're going to click on any item. It doesn't have to be one of these. It could be literally anything. When we click, you notice the number of options change up here. See that? And the option I want is this one, second to the end. It says add drivers. What drivers? You don't have to tell it. It'll figure it out on its own. Just tell it where to look. So click on that. Say, I want you to look in the folder I just extracted, which is right here. I want you to look in there. I don't have to go any deeper than that. Click OK and hit next. And now it's loading drivers for anything it can that is available in that folder that is also needed in our device manager. So if it's needed in the device manager, but we did not add it to the folder, then clearly that won't take care of everything for us, right? But I'm pretty sure I downloaded everything we need, and it doesn't tell us, right? It just shows us the INF files. So as you see, it says Elgato, no signal. That's the machine restarting. So in a minute here, we're going to get our power on self-test. You'll see the Aoostar logo. We'll be back in Windows in just a second, and then we'll go back in the device manager, and I suspect everything will be perfect. Wow, I never even saw Aoostar come up. Holy moly, that's fast. All right, right click, device manager. Oh, so I was assuming that AMD PSP device was this PCI device. Yeah, I haven't even so much as, done the old school PCIe code lookup. In most cases, I don't have to. I still will, but mostly you don't have to. Trying to just work smarter and not harder. So if we take a look at our network adapters, I'm just curious, do we have the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth? There's the Bluetooth, there's the Wi-Fi. Now, for some reason, it says we've got a Realtek gaming adapter, as well as an Intel and another. Oh, this is my USB adapter. Oh, man. Is it a long day? My day just started, right? What's my excuse? All right, I don't need this adapter. This is the Realtek one right here. I'm like, how do I have 3? Because the machine has 2, and I added this one. Now that the drivers are in, I can plug this into either of the 2 back there. This can go back in the drawer for the next time we need it. 15 bucks well spent, I'm telling you. All right, that should be happy. That's got nothing to do with the error in the device manager. It just was me being confused how I had 4 network cards. The Wi-Fi and 2 built-in ones, that's 3. Where's that 4th one, and why is it Realtek? I got there. So what's interesting is this one thing that says PCIe device. So we don't need to worry about oh no, we don't need to panic. We don't know what that is. There's a lot of different ways to accomplish this, but what you'll never see me do is you don't see me use third-party driver software to do this. I don't believe in it. I don't trust it. It's making money some way. They're not doing this for you for free. You're paying in ways you don't quite understand. And you're fully capable of doing it yourself. Now look, I'm not here to be your father until you get off your butt and get something done today. But if you want to be lazy and let somebody else do the work so you can remain untrained, and it's just not a good mentally healthy place to be. It leads to depression. It leads to all kinds of things. Getting fat, not wanting to. It's a disease. So get up, do it yourself. When you do it yourself, you'll make sure it's done right. It'll save you some money, and you also won't be waiting on anybody else. You won't have to trust anybody else. I have a hard time trusting anybody to do a job right unless I get to know them well, and then they establish the trust. And if I'm that way with people, you can imagine how I am with free software. Be very, very cautious, and be careful that you're not harming yourself because you think, well, I'll just be lazy. Lazy is okay. It's not good all the time. Not in my world. If you think something is a pain in the butt, it's probably a signal that you need to do it more, because when you do it enough times, it won't be that big of a deal. Sort of like people go, I don't want to have to reset up all my software on a new computer again. Oh, woe is me. They're going to torture themselves. What am I going to do? But then when they actually get off their butt and do it, they go, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So you can imagine if they do it more regularly, their attitude would be completely different. Oh, yeah, you want me to move everything to another computer? That's no big deal. What changed? What changed? Nothing but the person's attitude. All right, enough of that. Get off my soapbox. Patrick T says PSP is the Pluton security built into AMD processor. I've never heard of it. Okay, well, I appreciate you letting me know. Let's see, what else do we have in the chat? Everything looks good here. What if we go back to the Aoostar website, take another look if I didn't see something the first time. That would explain, because I would imagine there's nothing on the GODZ that isn't on the GODX. So whatever this is, probably the GODX build has it too. Could be wrong. But I need to take a fresh look at it now. Now, if you were to buy this from Amazon with the memory and storage already in place, then Windows will be installed with all the drivers already. And we'll reach out to Aoostar and ask them where's the driver download link for the GODZ, because quite frankly, if they are the same, then they need to add the name there to reassure us that everything's in there. If we're curious at this point, just what is it? Because I don't want to get rid of it and I'll never know if I just happen to hit the right driver. So let me I was just thinking of that. Let me go back to open source projector here so I can see it full screen. There we go. So the PCI device, if we double click on that and then just go over here to the the details tab under the hardware ID, this gives us this long code. So the old school way of doing this is I would just right click, go to copy, open the browser, and just Control V, this keyboard, Control V to paste that. And let's see, Ryzen mobile chipset. It says it's for the CPU. Or it says it's for the chipset driver. So that means we did not get the chipset driver. That's interesting. Remember when I went to the AMD Adrenalin software? It should have auto-detected. Let's go here this time. Let's go download software and then come down here and say we want the chipset driver. And we want the chipset driver for laptop right here. Right there. Select. Windows 11 64-bit is what we want. You see how I'm figuring all this out? You see how the brain works? This just came out last month. Let's download it. Now it's possible, if I would have just used the one Aoostar provided, even though it's an older version, it may have already contained the chipset driver and I wouldn't be going through this. So that's why I say sometimes it's better to not try and outthink the manufacturer in that. They might have already thought of this. The chipset driver is going to be the same for the GODX as it is for the GODZ. They use the same chipset. So, and in fact, when you just choose laptop chipset, it doesn't ask you which one. You get the same driver no matter what you ask from AMD for the driver. It's a pretty small file, and since we've got it, we'll just hit open. Right from here, click yes. I may need to close this. Let's see if we watch it vanish. Keep an eye on that PCI device. It might force us to close this, so we'll see what happens. I'm just curious. I can close this back here. If I use the right mouse. Okay, so this is what I was looking for. This is the chipset driver. I was expecting that to pop up during the Adrenalin software. It should have auto-checked that. So maybe I missed a step. But you can see it's saying you need all these drivers. It's not just blindly telling us that. It's saying these are either newer or missing from what you already have. All I have to do is click install. And we should see this go away. Bebo with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Bebo. I think it just went, oh, no, it didn't go away. Wait a minute, how about now? Every time that flashes, another driver's gone in, which means either a driver was updated or replaced. And then for this to take effect, we have to hit restart for those drivers to do their jobs. Now, on our restart, we should have absolutely everything happy in the device manager. This is normal because I left the device manager open. Silly me. I did tell you, I did say to you, we might have to close that for the drivers to install, but it turns out I was half right. We needed to close it before we restart the computer because it doesn't know if you were working on something, you know? So that's normal, and that's a user error. All right, let me go back full screen over here, and let's take another look at our device manager. Everything's happy. Everything's happy. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to grab my USB flash drive that has all my system utilities on it. And now gets to be the fun part where we can run Crystal Disk Mark and Cinebench on here and get us some performance numbers just out of curiosity. We'll see if this is running pretty much where we expect it to. While I'm not looking for certain specific numbers, I am looking for a range. So I want to see over 7,000 on the NVMe drive sequential writes. And I want to see, well, with Cinebench, I don't know what I want to see. We'll just have to, I just want to make sure it doesn't overheat. And I'm curious how loud the fans will get. And we're leaving everything at default values as far as, you know, not going into the BIOS and changing anything. I'm going to put CPU-Z over here. And I'm going to put VLC on this like I always do. So we'll drag that over there. I also want my Windows 11 network fixes so that Planet Kryos doesn't have any issue with that. My optimizer, of course, we're going to throw that on there. Under PC testing software, I'm going to want Crystal Disk Mark Portable, and I'm going to want HWI for temperature monitoring when we run Cinebench R23. So that's everything that I will typically run on a new build, so we're not here all day running a burn-in. Pretty much if it installs Windows fine, you're probably okay on your burn-in. Unless you've got a graphics card, you might want to burn that in separately. And that's assuming you're using all new parts from a reputable retailer. If you're buying your parts from someplace sketchy because you wanted to save $2.15, I suggest you check it all. Let's go ahead and start with Crystal Disk Mark, and let's see where that goes first and foremost. Here we go. And while that runs, let me put myself back in the corner here. Guess I can move. Yeah, well, we're close to 7,000. That still might climb. That over. $69.42 does seem a little bit low, but like half a millisecond. So I'm not too worried about it, but I would definitely run the test again. In fact, I'm going to stop this test. Just run it one more time. You can run this test over and over and over, and you likely will never get the results same, but it should be within a ballpark. So I expect that we're still not going to hit 7,000, but it's awfully close. Now, when this test gets over to the right side of the tests, if those tests are really, really, really slow, then we're probably having an overheating situation, which I would not expect with that big fan in this mini PC, along with the fact that the NVMe we've installed has a heatsink from the factory pre-installed. So we know it's installed correctly and it's adequate for that particular model. So I shouldn't see any thermal throttling on the NVMe drive at all. I'm just telling you, if you see really, really, really low numbers when you do yours, that's probably why. Mark Leibowitz said a client of his just left. It's a sad situation. Customer brought in a laptop that never should have been built. It had 64 gigs of eMMC storage, not NVMe, not SATA. Scammer got into it. And it also had a broken power jack. I told him it's just time to replace it. Well, if it's got eMMC memory, it would have been probably a $100 laptop. And a power jack repair was probably $175. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Now, when you buy a $1,200 or a $3,000 laptop power jack repairs, totally worth doing, assuming it's not that old. Let's see, 6,391 on the writes. That's pretty damn good if you ask me. Remember, this is a $100 NVMe drive. It's pretty damn good. Let's see, looking back here at the chat. Andy says, is this supposed to be Gen 4? Correct. If you go back to the beginning of the video, we went over that. I think we went over it, didn't we? Look at the Amazon page, and it mentions the specs. There's Ron Barnish saying hello. Barry Klein says, tomorrow there's an email inbound. Thank you for the heads up, Barry. Sure, Mara will let us know when she receives it. Scrolling up, see if I missed anything here. There's John Kennedy joining us. Good to see you, John. He says, Amazon returns, he's had no problems ever. I've had about 2 or 3, but I've been with Amazon since 1997. I don't think 2 or 3 out of 28 years is that much to really make a stink about. At the end, they did the right thing. And more often than not, they've even offered refunds where I didn't expect they would, where they've refunded long after the return period. So they've probably done that 3 or 4 times too. Brendan O'Mara said, my PC is from the first build tutorial. Which one was the first one? Okay, so final numbers. I'm going to just call those final numbers. Let me go full screen again over here. Sorry, I was reading the chat. We'll save these results. That way Planet Kryos will have them. And I'll just call this Crystal Disk Mark. We'll save it as a JPG file. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with a capital M. Take that. Okay, JPEG and on the desktop. There we go. Next, let's run Cinebench. Oh, let me unplug my flash drive. I don't need that in there anymore. Let me run my optimizer first, I guess. Do that right quick, and it'll reboot. And then we'll run Cinebench, and then it'll probably wrap it up for today unless you have questions. We're certainly happy to stick around if you have any questions. Later tonight, I will go ahead and buy my activation code for Windows 10. I will plug that into Windows 11, Pro to Pro, Windows 10 Pro. Activation keys work the same on Windows 11 Pro. Windows 10 Home keys work the same on Windows 11 Home. Windows 11 keys in general cost a couple dollars more. Windows 10 costs a little bit less, and they work exactly the same. Once you're activated for the life of the motherboard, just so you know. So if Microsoft says that Windows 10 key no longer will upgrade on Windows 11, you've already done that. You've been grandfathered in. That only affects people moving from that point forward to trying to do that upgrade. So for now, save you a couple bucks, or just buy a Windows 11 Pro key if you don't mind spending a couple extra bucks, even though you're not getting anything any different. But it's your money, so don't let me tell you how to spend it. Let's bring up hardware info. We'll fire that up, the 64-bit version. We'll take a look at what our temps are just as we're idling here on the desktop. I'm going to do the sensors only and close that out. Close that out. This up. Okay, core temperatures, that's what I want. Just like this. Okay, let's move this to the right. Close enough. Let's turn off camera 1. Cinebench. Okay, start, and put this back. We're off to the races. Now that I've done that, I suppose I'm going to bring back camera 1 here and just move it to the opposite side. Oops, sorry. I really need to select my input source before I start moving the input source. There we go, Carey. Let's just make that a little bit smaller. Hello, Mara.
Take a wild guess.
You've got mail?
You've got mail.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, Barry sends us an Amazon gift card for $25.23. There's got to be a story behind that amount. Hi, Carey and Mara. Life has kept me from participating for a while, but much to people's dismay, I'm back. Hope all is well. Here's a bit of green energy for the channel. Right on. Well, thank you for that, Barry. We appreciate you, and certainly always happy to see you here in the chat. And thank you very much for continuing to support the channel. And more importantly, for your friendship and your kindness, for being an overall cool dude. All right, hold on. I'm not paying attention. I got to look at the screen bigger over here. What are my temps right now? Oh, is that all? Hold on a minute. What am I looking at? That says it's our APU. APU graphics. No, these are core temperatures for the CPU. And because it's a discrete graphics card, it will also have a separate, clicking the wrong mouse, it'll have a separate temperature reading somewhere in here. There's our power consumption down here if you're curious. Oh, that thing's running nice and cool. You know, these fans aren't bad at all. I can definitely hear them, but it just sounds like fans running. It doesn't sound like they're running really high or running really loud. But before they were barely noticeable. Now you definitely know they're there. It's not like I have to talk over them though. It's kind of reassuring. I know it's working right now, and that the fans cranking up let me know you're really using a lot of system resources right now. They shouldn't sound like that all the time. If you're doing some heavy gaming, you know, maybe during your gaming session they might, but overall they shouldn't be loud like that all the time. And when I say loud, I just mean compared to what they did sound like before. But even at this noise level, they're still pretty quiet. But you definitely know they're on. So they're not whisper quiet. But they're not turbines either. So I'm okay with that. It's not too loud. John Williams says, thank you, Carey and Mara, for the live stream. I'm about to buy my 3rd Windows activation code today. Many thanks. Yeah, well, Take advantage of the deal. May not be around forever. Arnold's asking, how's life at Studio A with Jimmy? Jimmy's doing good. Yeah, he's just saw him the other day and probably see him this weekend too. He was out of dog cookies. I had to go buy him some dog cookies, and I found a big 20-pound box at the grocery store. And it's a different brand. And I'm like, I hope he likes these because they're like 25 bucks. I think they were $28 for a 20-pound box of dog biscuits. And they were a little different than what he is accustomed to. And I thought, well, let's see if he likes them, and went over there and brought him over. And let's just say I didn't get any complaints.
Take a wild guess.
We have another email?
Possibly.
Okay. Well, that'll give me something to do while I'm waiting for my benchmark. And I think I just accidentally hit the mouse here. Rip City Raider sends you an Amazon gift card. Well, right on. Thank you for that. Here's a $10 Amazon gift card for the channel and the great community. Right on. Well, thank you so much. I don't know your real name, but Rip City Raider, we appreciate your support, as we do support coming in from any of our viewers, and especially our members, that enable us to have the freedom to have this kind of money on the counter almost daily. You know, if you did a $600 build every single day for a week, how much is that? And we're just trying to come up with clever ways that we can remain independent. And of course, we'll still accept review units from companies. We have, for example, a bare bones laptop from this company. I don't know where they came from, but they seem like they've been in business for a while, and they're doing things really admirably. Long warranties, 90-day return periods, based in the United States. So if you have any warranty returns, they would go to the United States. And they sell a bare bones laptop. So if you thought the only laptop you could build yourself was a framework and they're expensive, think again. So they've graciously sent us a bare bones laptop. And what we have to do is put the RAM and the storage and install the operating system, kind of what we did here, but in a laptop. And just as you can save money by doing that yourself from the unit, it may actually cost you a lot more in the long run if you want to put, you know, an excessive amount of expensive memory and storage. But on the other hand, if what they're selling it with is something that you think you're going to upgrade anyway, why spend money for something you're going to just rip right out of there and replace? So when you buy it bare bones, they subtract the cost of the memory and storage and operating system. That makes the unit cheaper to purchase, as we demonstrated with the link for this on Amazon. It's significantly cheaper without RAM and storage. But by the time you add your RAM and storage, it probably gets more expensive. But anyway, you end up getting more or faster or larger capacity storage and RAM. So the folks at Nemo sent us this laptop. And we've never seen a bare bones laptop, ever. Well, there were white box laptops back in the day. That's what we called them. But this is a much, much, much cheaper alternative to framework. And you need to know what framework is doing is not a new idea. It's just everybody who's tried it before has always failed. All the way back to the 90s, they tried this. Not framework, but other companies. They've never been able to keep it in business. This is a much more sustainable idea. This is basically the same as what we do with mini PCs. It's bare bones. You put your own RAM, you put your own storage, you put your own operating system on it. That way you get the speed and capacity of storage and RAM you want. You put the operating system you want on it, if you want Linux or you want Windows 10, Windows 11, and you'll go to their website for the drivers. That easy. We will reach out to Aoostar with regards to making sure that they're aware that the model GODZ has no driver link, but I'm intelligent enough to know in this industry that GODX is basically the same model. If this was a pre-production, right, and we got this before it was for sale, we'd say, okay, well, when it's released to the public, they'll have it done. This is released to the public, we bought this, and it's not done. And since it's sold bare bones, you have to download the drivers. Those drivers should have been made available before they're shipped to any customers. We're going to make sure they know. And it's not to punish them. It's not to make fun of them. It's not to, it's just, look, we want you to have a good customer experience. We want them to not have to be burdened with support emails that keep coming in. Where's the drivers? Where's the drivers? Where's the drivers? We can nip this in the bud and solve that solution so that other tech support calls that are actual legitimate calls aren't being held up. That's the only reason why we do it. It's for everybody's benefit. John Williams, I hope you get a commission. No, we don't get a commission. We do not. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. We're looking out for our viewers. I am showing you where I get my legal license keys that are supported as legitimate and are backed behind the company selling them, that keep me competitive in the marketplace with other large PC manufacturers who get a discount in bulk purchases that I don't get. Most manufacturers will not disclose the source of their materials. I am not most manufacturers. I did ask SCD Keys for permission, and I asked them if they could entice a special offer strictly for my audience, and they did. And then I thought, wait, that's a better offer than what I'm paying. So I use my own offer to buy my own keys. The same as you, I pay the same price. You think I need to make commission on top of that? I mean, think of the money that's saving me and the headaches, potentially, from rolling the dice, buying the keys of some shady reseller. So, but if people aren't going to use it, SCD Keys and ourselves will probably take it back to private use only. In other words, I'll continue to work out something with them for my business, and just, you know, if people aren't using the keys, or the discount code rather, there's no sense to keep offering it. So whether or not people utilize it kind of determines what we're offering. Something ain't working, we'll find something else. But no, we don't make a commission off of that. What we're making a commission off of essentially is your memberships, your super chats, and your Amazon gift cards. That's what's keeping us alive. That's it. Planet Kryos, oh, there he is. $2 super chat. He says, it looks great, Carey. Give it all she has. Captain, she can't take much more. She's breaking up. All right, let me go back over here. How's it doing? Sorry, the screen is too small for me to read. Oh, it finished. 12,586 points. Now, this is strictly, and I want to be very clear on this, this is a CPU test. You could say, wow, you know, I could get a machine for about this price that does a much higher score. On the CPU side of things, you're absolutely right. That's not what this is built for. Let me do the single core test and I'll continue my explanation. Oops. What was our maximum temp? That didn't even break 80? Wow. Okay. If you find my voice. If you want to build a gaming machine, you don't need an Ultra 9 processor or a Ryzen 9 processor unless you're making the games. If you're playing the games, you need more of an Xbox, PlayStation processor. This is way better than that. So you're looking at the graphics card. Remember, this CPU has no integrated graphics in it. It's not an option. This has an AMD Radeon, I forget, Radeon what? Hold on, I gotta go look. Radeon RX 6600LE. So if you want to test this against any other sub $700 mini PC on frame rates and resolution, this kicks their butt. But if you want to test it on Cinebench and CPU prowess, other mini PCs at this price point kick this one's butt. If what you're looking for is a sub $700 mini gaming PC, there is nothing that gives you these frame rates and resolutions on the market at this price point. This is your only choice. If I'm wrong, correct me, please. Let me know. Give me a make and model and a price. The motherboard interface, let's see. Oh, I know what I didn't do. I didn't look at the Aoostar website. We have the link in the video notes, of course, but I don't think we ever went there. So let me pull that up since we're waiting for this other test to run. Let's take a look at this right here. So this is the bare bone unit. And yeah, you can see here, this is shipped from a warehouse in China. Customers in the US will pay 100% tariff plus a 45% tariff from the shipper. This is probably going to go away pretty soon, maybe in the next week or so. But right now, that is the state of things here in the US and China. But the president's been announcing some partnerships, removing or lowering tariffs for lots of other countries. And I think China is right there next on the list. And they do warn you over and over and over again. So it's not like you're going to be surprised. If you're not paying attention, that's not my fault. Aoostar GODZ mini supports DDR5 4800. Remember, it only supports 4800 because it has no internal graphics. There's no benefit to going any faster. USB 3.2 Gen 1 by 4, USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 4. Really, it's got 8 USB ports, is that right? One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count 7. I'm missing one. So USB 4, that is the Type-C connector, in case you were wondering. Yes, it's USB 4, but the display function is not supported, likely because there's no internal graphics on the CPU. CX1, I don't know what that means. Display port, it's got one display port, one HDMI output. This says it's got 2.5 gig LAN times 1, but it's actually times 2, so this is inaccurate. And I think this is inaccurate. I think this is... I don't know which ones are Gen 1s and which ones are Gen 2s, but we definitely have what appears to be 2 USB 4s, and this is saying, it doesn't say times 1 or times 2. I'm very confused. I think they've got some errors here. We'll reach out to them and verify. But the 3.5 millimeter audio jack times 1 is also wrong. It's got 2 3.5 millimeter audio jacks on the front and 2 on the back. This should say times 4. 2 are for microphone inputs and 2 are for speaker outputs. It's really bizarre they've got them on the front and the back, but I think that's not a bad thing. Well, this says it's for the Gen 12. Hold on. How did we go from the GODZ to the Gen 12? Somebody has mixed these. They copied and pasted. It says GODZ here, and it says Gen 12 here. Aoostar clearly needs a technical editor and a proofreader. Now here it says it contains LAN 2.5 gig times 1, but here it says dual 2.5 gig. I don't think they're reading what they're writing, or they're just copying and pasting. And usually 2.5G is not the way we establish the proper nomenclature when we're talking about Ethernet LAN. It should be a lowercase b and a lowercase e. So it should say 2.5 capital G, lowercase b, lowercase e. That means gigabit Ethernet. That's an industry standard nomenclature. I don't know why they're not following it. This shows a breakout of how everything comes apart. Glacier Gaming 3.0 exclusive cooling. So, well, it definitely seems to be staying cool. Now, of course, you can go in the BIOS and you can crank that CPU wattage up if you want to run it hotter. Radeon RX 6600LE, it's got 8 gigs of RAM on it, on the discrete graphics card, in addition to the RAM you would put in, or that we put in on the bare bones. This RAM is soldered in to the video card, and the video card is soldered into the board. It's a mobile graphics card. That's the only way they go in. This is a 100-watt full power design. It's GDDR6, 792 stream processors, 2495 megahertz. There's some scores of frame rates on Dota 2, PUBG, and whatever Blade Point is. A little bit about the processor. It's 8 cores that are hyper-threaded, so 16 threads. Maximum 4.5 in boost. It's Zen 3 plus architecture with 6 nanometer technology. CPU mark shows a score of 22,143, which puts it above a Core i7-12650. Interesting. And then that's the Gem12 over here that they were talking about. Interesting. So there's some confusion on the USB ports for sure, and they definitely need to fact check this whole thing. It's all screwed up. We'll let them know. Now, if you don't want to buy it bare bones, they do sell it with RAM and storage. And then it doubles from 16 gigs and 512 to 32 gigs and 1 terabyte. And then, of course, the price up here changes accordingly. Okay, so with that, we'll come back over here. How we doing? Still running. This looks good. Come back over here. If you look at the number of CPU mark, it's lower than the i7-12650. Did I read it wrong? Let me take another look. Let's go back over here again. Find another typo. It says 22,143, and this says, oh, you're right, 23,119. This is in the wrong position, or this is a typo, because there should not be between a 12,500 and a 12,650. I wouldn't think there'd be a 900-point difference. I appreciate you pointed that out. That got right by me. Yeah, 23,119 is a higher number. How did they get this graph to go that long? And this graph went longer. Is that some special Chinese math? Sharp eye. Thank you for pointing that out. Wow. Really need to wear my glasses more. Lots of errors on the Aoostar website. I'm sure it's not intentional. Let's just hope they don't build their computers the same way they write their websites. Planet Kryos will let us know, since it'll be his computer. He's paying for it, by the way. It'll be his, and if there's any issues with it, living with it, and using it, I'm sure he will let us know. I expect you to let us know. All right, let me take a look at how we're doing on our test. Temperature-wise, we're still really, really good on temps here. And then, okay, the clock did reach 0, so this is the final actual test. This is where the benchmark starts. The first 10 minutes is warm-up, and then after the warm-up of 10 minutes, it actually runs the test that it's being measured at right now. So we'll leave that alone and let it finish. Let me go over to the chat room and see if there's any final questions for today. We're going to wrap it up otherwise. I'm happy to stick around if you have questions. I'm also happy to wrap it up if you don't. All right, so it's all on you, no pressure. Then it says, I know Carey doesn't like overclocking, but I wonder how hard the CPU can be pushed. Well, it's likely not going to make a a significant difference. Like you might see a difference in benchmarks, but the actual practical difference, you probably won't be able to feel that or sense it as a human being. I think some people just get wrapped up in benchmarks, and maybe you're one of those people, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just not who I am, and I don't care. If I can get 7 more frames per second, like, who cares? I care when it's meaningful and it's worth doing. All of the effort in experimentation to put forth an overclock that's stable at the cost of system stability, as well as increasing wear on your silicon, to me, for an insignificant gain is not worth the risk and the time involved. But for you, it might be. For you, getting 7 more frames per second might be a big deal. So you and I have a different value system, and while you're welcome to wonder that, you're also welcome to buy one, do all the work, take all the risk, spend all the money, and then let us know the results. I'm not telling you you can't. I'm just saying I'm not interested in doing that myself, and I wouldn't do that to a customer. But I would never tell you you shouldn't. And if you do that, we'd love to hear your results. Barry Klein said Aoostar needs a poof reader. Yes, for sure. Does it say the power supply wattage? I assume the 100 watt shown was just the TDP for the GPU. That is correct. It might say, let me take another look here. Now the Amazon information seems a lot more accurate. If we bring up the Amazon page, it does say the interface is USB 3.2 Gen 1 by 1, not by 4. And then the 3.2s, there's 4 of those. At USB 4, it says there's only one USB 4. I don't know if it's a front or the back. And then it says Type C, there's 1 of those. So these are both Type Cs, but I guess it's saying only 1 is Gen 4. I don't know. Of course, 1 display port, 1 HDMI port, 2.5 gig ports times 2. That's correct. Audio microphone, 2 sets. This is more accurate than their own website. Warranty of 12 months of support. Okay. I was looking at power supply. What's the power of the power supply? No reviews. It's so brand new, nobody's rated it. We'll leave a review for them. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I feel like it's pretty damn good. Little tiny little things here, but nothing that I would ding them a star for. You know, $549. So when you add on the cost of your RAM and storage, you're still under $700 in most cases. For a machine that can game like this, that's pretty darn good. But wattage doesn't tell us anything about the wattage. We should be able to take the voltage and the amperage to determine the wattage. Let's ask Copilot. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've done this kind of math. How to determine watts from volts. Is it volts times amps? Once you have 2, you can figure out the third one. Watts equals volts times amps. So look at, my memory's not so bad. We said it was 20 volts times, so let's just, we can tell Copilot 20 volts and how many amps did I say it was? Does anybody remember? I don't remember. Oh, and I'm not showing you the right page. Let's go display capture. No, I'll do window capture. Go over to Copilot. Sorry about that. Thinking every time I go into Copilot, I forget it takes me out of Chrome, and I'm only window capturing Chrome, so that's why I wasn't aware. So I'm trying to remember if we roll the video back, at what point did I show that power adapter? I'd have to unplug it to look at it again, which I don't want to do right now for obvious reasons. Let me go back over here to camera 1. And let's take a look at what the chat room is saying, because some of you may have already done the math for me here. If you rewind the video, one of you watching this can rewind the video. Bill Stott said the power supply is 330 watts. You know, that's surprising given how small that power supply is. When we look at a power supply from other mini PC manufacturers that are 300 plus watts, they're usually the size of a brick. But that explains why it's so heavy. 330 watts. So obviously we've got 100 watts for the graphics card, and we've got the additional 130 for everything else, which is probably way more than this system can use, even if you maxed everything out. Bill Stott said volts times amps is watts. That's what I thought, but I wanted to check before I said anything. And he says we have 16 and a half. No, this I don't understand. 16 and a half of what times 20 of what? Oh, it's 20 volts. It's 16 and a half amps equals 330 watts. Okay. Boy, I wish you would have put a V or an A after those numbers. It made me do the work, Phil. It made me have to think. What'd you go and do something like that for? But thank you. I appreciate the info. 330 watts. I don't know why it doesn't say 330 watts on it, but it, you know, not that difficult to figure out. Brad Revels joins us and says, hello, welcome into Brad. I hear the fans have quieted down. This must be done. So let me jump back over here and take a look at our final numbers. So let's get rid of me down here. Let's see this whole screen. Source projector. Okay, so when I look at our final temps, so whoops. We look at our final temps, our core powers. I can scroll all the way through this if you want to look at any of these other numbers. And you'll always be able to play this back, or even right now you can pause it if there's anything you want to kind of study. But I just want to scroll down and show you all of the information. Some of you might want to read this line, some of you might want to read this line, and some of you may not care one way or the other. So in order to appeal to everyone, we will allow you to basically peruse it at your own leisure, and freeze frame it or pause it on whatever information is you want to see. I'm going to just do the opposite direction all the way back up to the top. I don't see anything in red. Everything looks happy, more than happy. And that's the top of the screen. So now what I want to do is I want to screenshot what I'm interested in, which is this information here. And I'm just going to hit the print screen, well, function print screen. Darn it, Carey. Function print screen button. I'll get there, bear with me. We'll go to Paint. Control V to paste. File and save as a JPEG on the desktop. We'll call it Cinebench. R23 results. And then Planet Kryos will have that for a record as well. We're going to put that right on the desktop. Savey. Puts everything out. I'm going to throw VLC on here before I forget. I'm going to go into the app section, uninstall a bunch of stuff. I probably don't really need to. This is Planet Kryos after all, not a regular customer. He might prefer to do that himself now that I'm saying it out loud, including what I'm doing right now. But I am going to throw the network fix on here because there's certainly no reason to not have it. Control C, PowerShell, run as administrator. Yes. Control V, enter. Yes. And then the other one is this line right here. Control C, Control V, enter. Yes. All done. Now I got to remember to close Notepad this way or it'll always keep opening the same document. All right. And then VLC is installed. Very good. All done. I want to thank Planet Kryos again. I mean, it's very nice of him to let us build this and evaluate it without having to buy it and then let it sit on a shelf for the next 2 years. And again, if you're interested in working with us in that way, please reach out to our email, which I'm going to put on the screen here in just a second. Email is right here. And let us know if there's a machine you're interested in and you're in the United States, if we can evaluate it, even build it up for you in the case of a bare bones unit, and then we'll send it off to you. We can work out something so it's worth your while, but you know, you're going to save some money, and we're going to save some money by reducing the cost that we would have had to have endured to get this. In fact, we likely wouldn't have done it, quite frankly. Not much call around these parts for the gaming PCs, and they cost more. And since I don't have any personal use for it, I was genuinely interested in reviewing this. I had my eye on it, but I've got my eye on many of them that I would review them if I could get them without, you know, having to reach into the show budget to do that, because they take a significant piece of that show budget, cut it right in half. Now, if you're curious about that and you want more information, reach out to our email. If there's anything we can do to answer any questions or you want to share some experiences with us, please use the email and let us know. If you want to share it with the community, go to our forums at CareyHolzman.boards.net. And there you can communicate with our community, leaving messages and responses to one another. That's all free. Everything I'm talking about here is free. Now, as I mentioned, I need to buy a license code for this. That's part of the deal we made. I'll pay for the license code. So I'm going to go over here to SCD Keys, and I'm going to use my own coupon code to buy the license. I do the same way for my customers, because at this point, I'm treating this no different than a customer. And I'm going to use my own coupon code. I'm going to buy a Windows 10 Pro key because it's about $2 cheaper. I'm going to plug that into Windows 11. It's going to activate and stay activated for the life of that motherboard. I never need to enter the code ever again. Never. And then we can put it back in the box it came in, put that back in the box it shipped in, and then get it out to our friend Planet Kryos on the other side of the United States. And everybody's happy. We move on to the next video. What is the next video? Well, I'm glad you asked. We were supposed to receive, I don't think we have yet, our Minis Forum N5 Pro NAS. I'm super excited to get my hands on that. It's like a mini workstation combined with a NAS. Normally NASs are pretty low power devices. This is the opposite. This is a high powered workstation that also functions as a NAS. Why that's exciting is because even though I only use NASs as file shares, part of the reason is they're just slow at everything else. But if I can have a workstation level of performance and then I want to run virtual machines and Docker, things should just, boom, it should happen quick. Does it? That's why I want to know. With regards to the bare bones laptop from Nemo, next week, Nemo should be running a back to school special, I think. And they said, hey, would you mind just procrastinating a couple days before you do that? Because we've got everything here. They sent it to us at no charge. We'll likely send it back when we're done because we don't need it. And, oh, you want me to wait a couple days? Why? And they said, oh, we should have a sale going on. Oh, well, that's better for my viewers. So I don't want to tell you about it and then tell you have to wait. So if you want the good prices. So we're just waiting for that green light, which I think early next week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to that too, because I've never done a bare bones laptop. I didn't even know such a thing was reasonable to offer to the public. Some of you have already done this, by the way. I've never done it before. So we're going to share that experience. And it'll be the same. We're going to put RAM and storage just like we did today. We're going to install Windows and drivers just like we did today. I'll buy a Windows license key, maybe. If I'm sending the laptop back, there's no sense in me activating it. But like I said, you don't even need to activate Windows to begin with. It just runs forever. You just certain customizations you can't do, but everything works. Speaking of everything works, there was an update yesterday for Windows. It's a cumulative update, but not a security update. This cumulative update, which was out of band, I don't know why, is just giving you features. And by the way, if you run an LTSC version of Windows, you're never going to get any of this stuff. And you're going to be missing out month after month after month as Microsoft continues to add new features. You'll still be in the past. And all your other friends and people you know with Windows 11 will be able to do a bunch of stuff you can't do because you thought you were outsmarting everybody with support. So you do you. I can't waste my time with LTSC. It's nonsense. It's for corporate America. If you're not in corporate America and you think you're smarter than the rest of us, you go down that path without me. We're all going this way. One of the benefits of going this way is we get all the new stuff. So for example, no more blue screen of death. After this update from yesterday, it's a black screen of death. So what? But what is interesting is a service called Quick Machine Recovery, QMR. If you remember the CrowdStrike that affected, it was a CrowdStrike program that's a good program, got a bad update, and it crashed a bunch of companies all over the world. And every time they try to restart the computers would blue screen and crash. Now, some of these computers were critical to the operation of, say, Delta Airlines. And some of the computers all over the world in airports and headquarters and, et cetera, some of those computers are put in an inaccessible place because they're never touched, they're only maintained remotely. That's why the recovery was so difficult. People had to go on site, physically get to wherever the computer was, and manually, with a keyboard, fix it. What QMR, or Quick Machine Recovery, does is in direct response to this boot loop issue as a bad update. Should you get a bad update in the future that causes a blue screen, Windows will now automatically try and correct that, so we're not stuck in that same situation. Now, you as a home user may say, so what? But if you were Delta Airlines losing hundreds of millions of dollars and having people yelling and screaming at you, you might feel a little differently about that. So, that is now a new feature available to you. And in fact, if I, let's see there, all the links, by the way, to SCD keys for Office and Windows, all in the video notes. If we go to this computer right here, which we should have fully updated from even the latest updates from yesterday, let's take a look at that. It's called, if we have it, and by the way, if you have Windows LTSC, you're never going to have it. Too bad, because you outsmarted all of us. Quick Machine Recovery Settings. See that? It came up at the top, right up here, as I'm typing it. You get an explanation of what it is here. And if we click on, we have it. Did we get it? So we have Copilot answering us. Microsoft Community. You know what? Let me go back to Windows Update. Maybe I didn't install it. It just came out. Anyway, well, that's checking. Oops. Just as I clicked away, it said something. Oh, that's just a security update. So this would be a cumulative update. Currently available in preview. I'm not a Windows insider, and I got it. So this is probably an older article. Oh, this is back in March. Okay. So it's available now for everybody. That Came out the 22nd, came out yesterday. A little bit about how it works. And if we want to know more about it, we can always go to, guess where I'm going to go, Copilot. And I'm going to say, here's a fun thing you can do. What was in the latest Windows 11 update? AI-powered enhancements for Copilot-enabled PCs. In other words, if you have a CPU with an NPU, all of these new features have been added. Recall with regards to the European Union rollout, which again has to be enabled. It's not going to enable itself. A little bit more on that. Here's the quick machine recovery. If your PC fails to boot, it can now auto-recover by sending diagnostics to Microsoft and receiving a fix. Pretty damn cool. Black screen of death. Now the infamous blue screen of death is gone. Search screens in settings have been merged, and the search bar is now at the top. So these are features. Then there's application updates to Paint, Word, and whatever the reading coach and immersive reading reader is. I have no idea. If you want early access, be sure to enable get the latest updates as soon as they're available. I'm pretty sure that's the box I check, isn't it? When I do my Windows updates and I'm checking those things over here, it's this first box right here. I always turn it on. So in theory, we should have that. It says we're up to date, and the article is KB5062660. Obviously, you've got to have 24H2. We can go into our installed updates if we want to, see what's installed. Got to remember where it is. Update history. This one right here, I think this is it. Installed it today. So then if we want to use the quick machine recovery, I should be able to just type quick machine right there. So instead of getting the little magnifying glass, I get an icon. That's how I know if I'm searching or I'm loading a program. I click on that. Now I have a feature I didn't have yesterday. If your device fails to start, we could try fixing it. Why not turn it on? What's wrong with that? What do you got to lose? So again, this is not a security update. This is a feature update. And it might just save your bacon one day, or maybe it won't, but it's free. Let me right click on the taskbar because I don't like this stuff. I really need to stop doing this. This is going to Planet Kryos. He knows how to do all this. I need to just stop. I'm treating him like a regular customer, and he is not that. In fact, I should just leave all of this on the desktop, so if he wants any of it, even though, again, he could probably just go and download everything. It's all available for free. We're not using anything pirated. We're not installing anything. It's all open source except for VLC. I'm in such a habit, so used to doing this, I need to just stop because I like to customize down here. He may not like that. I'm sure he has his preferences. Oh, and we have a little issue with security. Wants us to sign into a Microsoft account. Hey, maybe he's going to want to do that. Now, I'm going to dismiss this because it bugs me. I really just need to leave it alone. The only one thing I do want to do is run the disk cleanup because we did all those Windows updates and driver installs. And I'm going to check all these boxes and watch how much hard drive space I free up here. Almost 4 gigs worth. Nobody does this, by the way. You could get a brand new Dell computer and you'll have a massive amount of files that are just sitting around that you could delete. I do this for my customers. All right. Well, I've been informed it's not going directly to Planet Kryos. It's going to somebody he knows. So maybe he's going to remote into it. So maybe I will just go through with my regular stuff in that case. So, all right. Either way, that's neither here nor there. Let me go back. My browser just crashed, so I cannot see the live chat. Go back over here to camera 1. So tonight, when we're offline, I'll probably just go through this because I won't be happy unless I do. And we'll get it boxed back, you know, with Windows activated, we'll get it boxed back up, and we'll try and get that out tomorrow after tomorrow's show. If I'm having a show tomorrow, which depends on if this Minis Forum NAS shows up, I guess it could show up between now and 5 hours or 6 hours from now. It's only close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think UPS delivers till 9 or 10 at night. So as long as I get it today, we're set for Thursday. Friday, we're going to go back to the Mini ITX build. We got the cooler to install, we've got the power supply to install, and the NVMe drive to swap out. And I'm hoping by the next Friday, we'll get the little USB cable for the screen, and that's all that'll be left with cable management. And then I'm going to move the video capture card out of the big red and black streamer into this little tiny Mini ITX build. That's going to be our new streamer going forward. So that's the plan that I know today. And again, if you have any questions for me, this is the time to ask, because otherwise we're going to wrap it up. And we certainly appreciate all of our members, of course, who make these videos possible, with a special shout out to Planet Kryos. And again, if you want to reach out to us, we're always happy to receive emails from you at our email address. I want to put up on the screen one last time. And a reminder, all the links for the products that we use today, from the RAM and the storage to the mini PC and the Windows license codes, all those links are in our video notes. Mara spends a lot of time and effort on those. Please check them out. A lot of times people ask questions that they wouldn't need to ask if they just look in the video notes. So just so you know. Mark Baggett said, great show, Carey. Well, thank you, Mark. Thanks for hanging out. Andy says, Carey, I could not resist the urge. I purchased a Nano KVM today. I don't know when it will arrive. If you look on Amazon, there's multiple Nano KVMs. So if you ordered it today, you still might be able to cancel it if you ordered it from, let me just demonstrate it. Let's just go there and look. Let's go to, move that. Let's bring up Amazon. We'll finish up with this little tip for you, because this applies to a lot of other products on Amazon, and you just have to look. It'd be too many products that this applies to for me to isolate them for you. So I'm just going to show you what to look for, and I'm going to demonstrate it. Give me just a minute. I'm trying to figure out where my window capture went. Right there. Okay, so we're at Amazon, and let's type in Nano KVM. Okay. Unless you're referring to the Pro version, which is pre-order, then you didn't order it from Amazon. But I just realized that when I said it out loud. But if you look at Amazon, I recently had to order another one for myself. So what I did is I'm scrolling through looking for the Nano KVM, and I see this says $60, an additional $2.10 delivery. It's not going to arrive for 3 to 4 weeks. Keep looking. Here's another one, $56, $4.40, and delivery is only in 2 to 3 weeks. Keep looking. This one, this one is sold out. This one, oh, there's 3 of them for 180. I shouldn't have to go back this far. So one of the things you can try, go back to the first page. If we look here, and then scroll down, you might see some here, or you might see some further down. Like in this area here sometimes. Okay, look at this. This says it's $58.89 and I can have it on Monday. That's a big difference between now and the end of August. I don't know why that doesn't come up with nano KVM, but if you look for it, it's there. $58.89, no cost for shipping, right? So there's no additional shipping cost, and it's going to arrive within a few days rather than a few weeks. And they have 17 left. Now, if you're ordering the Nano KVM Pro, that's a different story altogether, because that is not yet available for sale. It's only a pre-order from Sipede. I don't know how to say their name. And these are the files, I guess. Oh, that's interesting. Where is their main? Got to be this one. Pro, right here. Pre-order now. This thing really looks cool. So I pre-ordered mine on day one, and it's supposed to ship, if this is the one you're talking about, I ordered one of these, each of these, one of the internal one and one of the external. I got a feeling I probably should have ordered 2 or 3 of the externals, but it might be a piece of crap. I doubt it, but I'll start with one. And I don't really need that. I mean, the little Nano KVM does everything I need, and it's cheap. It's the cheapest KVM on the market. But this one's only a few dollars more. It's got the cool screen on it and this little dial, and you can do all kinds of stupid stuff like look at your CPU usage, because that's really important. Sarcasm. And yeah, that would be a pre-order, and they're very, very reasonable. Like right now, $69 for the internal one. I want the desktop one, 79 bucks for the desktop version. And if you want it with Wi-Fi, which is how I want it, so I don't have to run a separate Ethernet cable to the computer that I'm controlling, and then a separate Ethernet cable to the KVM. If I can put the KVM on Wi-Fi, that saves a lot of trouble for me. Power over Ethernet is nothing I'm interested in. And then, of course, you could get all of it, Wi-Fi and power over Ethernet in the desktop model. And it goes from, fully loaded at $95. Like, think of it like a car, $79 for the basic model. And then the internal card, that's the same thing. You can get the internal card with Wi-Fi. Again, I would do that so I'm not running 2 Ethernet cables to the back of a computer. Or you can do PoE, which I don't know why you'd want to for this, but I guess it saves you. I don't think it saves you anything, quite frankly. It's going to get power from the USB cable. You've got to have the USB cable to control the keyboard and mouse anyway. So I'm not sure who this is for. And again, with Wi-Fi and PoE control, power control, there's 85 bucks. Like, that is profoundly inexpensive. Then they sell this silly little LED strip that'll change colors based on what you see on the screen, which is, I cannot even explain how foolish and what a waste of money that is. Disappointed to even see they offer it. Select your shipping area. We would be in the Americas, so you have to select that, and then it says additional tariff, shipping to the US, we have to select that. Then our true cost, well, let's say I order the desk with Wi-Fi, which is what I did, in the Americas, shipping to the US. Still works out to the same price. That makes sense because it's still $85 on the internal card fully loaded and $85 on the external device with just Wi-Fi. So if you wanted the most expensive, you add another $10. It's $15 shipping, 5% tariff. Your total is $121 maximum fully loaded. I didn't order it maximum fully loaded because I don't need it. Even if it's only $11 more, why make it more complicated than it needs to be? So anyway, I should be getting this in the mail here soon. I don't know when they're planning on shipping, but I thought they said it was expected to ship. Well, does it say? Say here, it doesn't say there. This also has HDMI pass-through. So you can still have your monitor hook your monitor to this, and then hook this to where your monitor normally hooks in the back of your machine. A lot of people wanted that option. Yeah, the sync strip is just dumb. Smart Assistant, probably another dumb thing. I don't know. It's a little comparisons between that and the competitors. Specs. We don't know when the expected shipping date is. Anyway, see who gets theirs first. I want to thank you again for watching and hanging out with me today. It's always fun to be able to share what I love to do with friends who share the same interest and passion. Frankie B says, what about download PC Manager? Oh, you're right, Frankie. I forgot to download and install the PC Manager on this. Look, I was almost done saying goodbye. Somebody's got to keep me honest. Yes, that is another thing I always do, is I put the free Microsoft PC Manager on. So let me do that real quick, just in case you're new here and you've never seen me do it. We just go down to the search bar. If I use the right mouse, that would help. We'll go down here and type in PC MANA. You see how I don't have to finish typing when it comes up with this suggestion, and it's not installed. That's why we get the magnifying glass. Install on Windows. The Microsoft Store opens. Even though I'm not signed in with a Microsoft account, I can still get this from the Microsoft Store. Click yes. It's downloading it. And we open it. Well, that opens. I can close this and close this. Close that. Restore default settings? No. Automatically start? Yes. Separate files, memory usage, boost it. Just clean up. Didn't I just clean up? Didn't I just clean it up? Yes, but this will clean up some other stuff. See? Another 500 megs of cleanup. It's fast. Done. Then I'm just going to turn Set Smart Boost to on, and we're all done. And that'll just sit down here on the system tray as this little colorful, whatever that is, in green and blue. Mostly green. Want to bring that up and run it by hand, you can always bring it up and run it by hand. I can't really tell you this is helping, but it's definitely not hurting anything. And it makes me feel good to see it free up a bunch of RAM and storage. So at least we're not doing a third party like CCleaner, Glare Utilities, Iola System Mechanic. This replaces all of that, and it's free. All you gotta do is install it on your Windows 10 or your Windows 11 computer, home or pro. I can't strongly recommend that enough. Now let me shut this down. And next, let me shut down the streamer. And I'm gonna start by doing the outro. Thank you for watching. Thanks, of course, to Frankie B and Planet Kryos. Well, Planet Kryos said he ordered one of those too, the Nano KVM Pros. Bill Stodd mentions it's cheaper to get a mini PC with standard RAM and storage because it includes the operating system already activated. It's not about the price, it's about the performance. What you're not thinking of, Phil, is not everybody's just looking at the price. They're thinking, here's what half of the audience is thinking right now. It would be great if I could buy this without that slow, small storage and that small, slow RAM. And even though a lot of people, they got to get it through their heads, faster RAM, this will not accept it, they still may want 64 gigs or 96 gigs or even 128 gigs will work in this. They make it now. For $280, you can buy a 128 gig RAM kit of 264 gig DDR5 SODIMMs. That's available now. The documentation may not represent that. So if you end up buying this because it's cheaper, only to rip out the RAM and storage because they're not fast or large enough, you actually spend more. And that's the difference. They're going to buy the RAM and the storage in bulk, and it's neither slow nor fast. It's right down the middle in order to keep it price aggressive against competitors. But if that's not big enough or fast enough for you, you can spend more money, but that's not who generally is buying these in bulk. You know, the overall sales of these are going to be by your average person who's going to be not technical enough to know how to do it, and it's already going to be spec'd out beyond their imagination. But if you're beyond that level technically, and you're saying it's not good enough, then it's cheaper to buy this bare bones and save the money for the RAM and storage you're going to rip out anyway. Put that towards the RAM and storage you actually want, then it's cheaper. It's all on how you want to look at it. David Herzog said, great show as always, Carey. Thank you, David. Frank M said, which is better, AMD Ryzen or Intel? Is there no difference? Really, it's like asking me, is a Nissan better than a Toyota or a Ford or a Chevy? None of these products are bad. They apply and appeal to people with different values, people with different perspectives, and people with different use case scenarios. Is a Kit Kat chocolate bar better than a Hershey's with almonds chocolate bar? Or is a Twix bar better than an M&M's with peanuts? How would you answer that question without your own personal opinion? I didn't ask you which one you liked. I said which one is better. There is no such thing as better. Which one is worse? If it's available on the market and it hasn't gone out of business in years, it must not be too bad. The fact that it exists and has existed for years, in this case decades, suggests whether or not you like it doesn't mean it's good or bad. So these are impossible questions to answer, my friend. You're going to have to tell us your preferences, but you cannot tell us which one's better. There's no such thing. That is completely subjective. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for all your super chats. Again, the Amazon gift cards that came in today from our good friends such as Rip City Raider, Barry Klein, and Mark Gaines. Of course, our friend Buster and Jack Kugelmas. Thank you for the Amazon gift cards and for your support. Thanks to all the members who make these videos possible. Without them, you'd have no videos to watch from me. Just telling you, that's how critical our members are. And we hope if you're not a member, you will consider supporting us and encouraging us to continue. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thanks to Mara, as always, for all the work she does with like today's thumbnail. Thanks to Planet Kryos. Without him, this video about this unit would not have been possible. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Remember the deals for SCD keys. All the links are in our video notes below the video. And hopefully we're back tomorrow at the same time, 1 p.m. Phoenix time, which is currently Pacific time. Same time as always, unless that product doesn't arrive. We'll wait and see. Turn your notifications on, because if that does arrive, we'll schedule it. That'll wrap it up. And until next time, bye for now. Bye-bye.